Chapter 82. Learning the skill of the golden ball of light was easy. He just needed to inject his spiritual energy into it. Of course, to truly understand the power of the skill, he still needed to practice continuously. The method of using the skill appeared in Long Houchen's mind after he was affected by the golden ball of light. It was obviously part of the memory that eternal melody gave him. Without any hesitation, Long Houchen immediately learned the Shura slash. What he lacked now was a direct attack skill. He had personally experienced the power of the Shura slash. If it wasn't for his companions sharing their lives, he would have been seriously injured. The golden ball of light gradually disappeared under the infusion of spiritual energy, and the method of using the Shura slash was deeply imprinted in Long Houchen's mind. He gave it a simple try. While the power was huge, the Shura slash required a shocking amount of spiritual energy, up to 1,000 spiritual energy points. It didn't seem to consume as much as the luminous rain of hibiscus thorn, but don't forget, the luminous rain of hibiscus thorn was a skill that came with the weapon. It needed spiritual energy to activate the blue rain and hibiscus of light. Moreover, the luminous rain of hibiscus thorn was more powerful and had a larger attack range. The attack range of the Shura slash was only within the range of the weapon's spiritual energy. Of course, the Shura slash also had its advantages. Within a range of 5 meters, it ignored all the enemy's evasion skills. Just this alone was enough to make up for its flaw of consuming a large amount of energy. After all, it wasn't a commonly used skill. Moreover, among the grade 6 skills, its attack power should be one of the best, suitable for warriors and knight to learn. If the buff from Ripple of Light was added, how powerful would the attack be? The test came with the reward. The Shura slash could increase Houchen's strength, but it was more important for him to understand the test in the Tower of Eternity. The gift of spiritual energy and skills, and from the looks of it, it wasn't limited to the necromancer's ability. To him, this discovery was undoubtedly more useful than any treasure he had ever discovered. If he could continue to train here, his strength would increase at least a few times faster than his own training. Taking a deep breath, Long Houchen tried to calm his surging emotions. It seemed that he had to find a way to convince his companions to come with him. If it was someone else, their first thought would be to monopolize this place, but Long Houchen didn't think so. Although monopolizing it would allow him to keep the secret and allow him to grow stronger faster. However, the demons were powerful. Could they fight against the 72 demon gods by themselves? That was undoubtedly the ravings of a madman. The Child of Light was not only kind, but also had many other positive qualities. From the beginning to the end, Long Houchen had never thought of monopolizing this place. "Haoyue, let's go," Long Houchen said in a low voice. He jumped up and landed on Haoyue's back. Haoyue's 3 heads let out a low growl at the same time, its 4 hooves flying, and quickly rushed out of the gate of the Tower of Eternity. The moment they left the Tower of Eternity, Long Houchen felt as if the eternal melody in his chest had turned into a piece of burning charcoal. The intense burning sensation made him groan. Then, an ear-piercing shriek broke out instantly. A strong golden light burst out with Long Houchen as the center, protecting him and Haoyue. The shriek could still be heard, but it couldn't hurt them at all. Turning his head to look behind him, he saw that the countless wraiths outside the Tower of Eternity were flying toward the Tower of Eternity at a speed 10 times faster than before. Meanwhile, the Tower of Eternity emitted a grayish-white radiance that rose like flames. In just a few blinks of an eye, those wraiths had all attached themselves to the Tower of Eternity. The next moment, Long Houchen saw an unforgettable scene. At the top of the conical cave, a huge black hole opened up slowly. The entire cave trembled violently as though it would collapse at any moment. Shortly after, the Tower of Eternity turned illusory in the process of light distortion. In the next moment, it disappeared into the black hole with a swoosh. The black hole closed, and the cave that was originally centered around the Tower of Eternity suddenly became empty. The shriek also came to an abrupt end at this moment. The burning feeling in his chest gradually disappeared, but Long Houchen clearly felt that there was an inexplicable connection quietly emerging. It seemed that as long as he willed it, he could set foot on the bridge of communication. Hao Yue carried Long Houchen, and little Qing cast a levitation spell on herself to reduce the weight. Under the guidance of Long Houchen, they climbed toward the mountain wall. Although the terrain was dangerous when descending, it was not vertical after all. Hao Yue's 4 claws were extremely tough, and climbing was effortless. Suddenly, Long Houchen was shocked, and raised his hand to touch the scouting gem hanging on his waist. His face suddenly became a little ugly. Because of the shock brought to him by the Tower of Eternity, he forgot to turn off the scouting gem before. If everything in the Tower of Eternity was remembered, then how would he explain to the soldier grade number 4 monster hunters when he went out? How would he report this mission when he went back? He was not afraid to tell the Temple League the secret of the Tower of Eternity, but the key problem was that the eternal melody, as the key to the Tower of Eternity, seemed to have merged with his body. This would definitely bring him a lot of trouble. Holding a slim chance, Long Houchen injected spiritual power into the scouting gem to check the content it recorded. A ray of light shot out from the scouting gem, and turned into a circular image with a diameter of 1 meter in front of Long Houchen. The light screen started recording from the moment he entered the cave. Under the control of spiritual power, Long Houchen adjusted the speed at which the scouting gem recorded. Because the scouting gem was hanging on Long Houchen's waist, it was naturally impossible to record the process of him comprehending ripple of light. It could only record the process of each time Long Houchen resisted the shriek. Gradually, under Long Houchen's adjustment, the image finally reached the moment when he reached the underground. It recorded until the moment when the 2 vengeful spirits rushed toward him. At this point, the light screen suddenly became blurry, and disappeared in the next moment. That's it? Long Houchen looked at the scouting gem in shock, and injected spiritual power to check it again, but the result was exactly the same as before. The image finally stopped at the moment when Long Houchen was attacked by the vengeful spirit. The Tower of Eternity actually blocked the recording ability of the scouting gem? Just as Long Houchen was constantly checking the recording of the scouting gem, the entrance of the Howling Fear cave was not quiet. Someone's coming. Han Daosi, who was responsible for keeping watch outside, suddenly flashed into the cave. This cave was dug by themselves. The mountain was hard, so they didn't dig it very deep, and could only accommodate a few people sitting down. Of course, after Long Haoyue left, the space inside the cave was still a lot bigger. At this time, it was still dark outside, and there was still some time before dawn. It's demons, I don't dare to go near, there are about 30 of them. The leading demon is even stronger than the demon commander that we intercepted. They just came down from the opposite mountain, and from our side it seems like they've noticed us. Han Daosi had a special ability, which could enhance his vision at night. That's why he could see the movement on the opposite mountain. Prepare for battle. Lu Shi, I've never commanded a team battle before, so you'll command the battle. No matter what, we must hold on until Long Houchen returns. Kair said in a low voice. None of them expected the demons to come so quickly, but no matter how the demons got the news, before Long Houchen returns, they must fight. Otherwise, if these demons entered the cave, wouldn't they encounter Long Houchen? A demon that was even stronger than the demon commander was obviously not easy to deal with. Kair's pair of beautiful eyes were like stars in the dark night, shining with a faint light and even a bit of determination. Long Houchen hadn't returned after such a long time. She looked calm on the surface, but in her heart she was more anxious than anyone else. Fortunately, with the existence of the soul chain, she was sure that Long Houchen's life wasn't in danger, otherwise she would have gone to find him long ago. Lu Shi knew that now wasn't the time to be polite, so he nodded and said, Long Houchen isn't here, and we lack the core to protect Night. In the battle later, we'll rely on the cave to defend. Lure them over first. The magic professions will all stay inside the cave, and the melee professions will guard the cave entrance. Kair, you and Han Daosi will harass the enemies outside. Lin Xin, you'll also be outside, and use the Rose Unicorn's flying ability to support us in the air. Lu Shi's commanding ability wasn't bad. Perhaps he didn't have a strong overall view and prediction ability like Long Haochen, but he was definitely good at commanding a battle. Han Yu, Dian Yen, Wang Yuan, and Sima Xian walked out of the cave. Han Yu stood in the middle, and quickly put on his equipment. Kair and Han Daosi hid in the shadows. Lin Xian was a disciplined knight, and defending was not her forte, so Lu Shi arranged for her to support from the outside, and use the Rose Unicorn's advantage. However, in order not to expose herself too early, she chose to climb up the cave first, and was ready to summon the Rose Unicorn at any time. After all, the demons didn't know how many people they had. Han Daosi held a pitch-black dagger in each hand, and the place he chose to hide was very clever, behind a rock above the Howling Terror Cave. But at this time, he discovered that Kair had disappeared. He sighed in his heart, this is the difference between us. He never thought of Kair as a target. Before, when he couldn't see Kair, she was already so powerful, let alone now that she had regained her sight. Even as a member of the Assassin Temple, he only vaguely knew that Kair used to appear as a blind girl because of her special training method. Blending into the darkness, Kair didn't stay near the cave, but quietly walked down the mountain. In a team battle, the role of an assassin was actually limited. Assassins were best at sneak attacks, and the darkness in front of them was obviously the most suitable for her. Acting alone, she didn't need to worry about the safety of her teammates, and this was the best way to show off her attack power. The demons came very quickly, and Kair quickly saw that they had reached the foot of the first mountain, and were preparing to climb up. Just like the batch of fiends they had killed before, this batch of fiend reinforcements were also great fiend cavalrymen. The great demon's shapeshifter was emitting a faint dark red light. If it wasn't for this eye-catching sign, Han Daosi wouldn't have been able to see them from so far away. 33. As Kair quietly approached, she counted the number of enemies. Just as Han Daosi had said, the great demon in the lead was exceptionally strong. He was much stronger than the demon commander, and more importantly, he had a pair of slanted bat wings on his back. The nightmare horse he was riding had 4 hooves on fire, and its pitch-black body flashed with red light from time to time, like burning charcoal. This was at least a 6th-grade magical beast. The demon commander that could ride it was probably a 7th-grade demon. Kair and Long Haochen had also killed a 7th-grade bloodthirsty beta before, but that was mostly due to luck. In addition, Long Haochen's rain of light hibiscus thorn and her spiritual stove of samsara burst out together. In terms of real strength, although she and Long Haochen were talented, they could at most fight against a 6th-grade demon. A 7th-grade demon was no longer a commander Emi, but a demon lord. It was only a difference of 1 word, but the difference in strength was like heaven and earth. This demon lord wielded a dark red greatsword, and a dark red light flashed in its eyes. Kair did not doubt its strength. The most important quality for an assassin was to be calm. No matter what, they had to be as cold as ice. Kair came down alone with a simple goal. She wanted to kill as many enemies as possible to slow down their climb to the top of the mountain. Hidden in the dark, Kair seemed to have become one with the mountain, and did not emit any human aura. Even an assassin who was much stronger than her might not have the same level of breath concealment technique. The demon overlord at the very front quickly passed by, and Kair didn't have the slightest intention of acting blindly without thinking. She calmly waited for the demon cavalryman to pass in front of her, and only when the last demon cavalryman passed not far from her did she quietly leave like a wisp of smoke. The nightmare horse's perception was quite good, but at this moment it was completely unaware of Kair following behind it. The so-called stealth technique was not to become invisible, but to make use of the environment to conceal one's existence as much as possible. At this moment, Kaer was hidden in the shadow of the last demon cavalry. Although the environment was dark, there was still some light from the stars and moon in the sky. Kaer was not in a hurry to make a move, but quietly followed the demon cavalry, preparing to climb the mountain. The demon lord was the first to ride his huge nightmare horse up the mountain peak where the Howling Fear Cave was located. The demon cavalry followed one after another. They were almost no different from human cavalry, orderly, and did not make too much noise. Just as the last great demon was about to climb the mountain on his nightmare horse, Kaer, who was hidden in the shadows, made her move. She suddenly accelerated without warning, and even when she arrived behind the nightmare horse, she was not discovered by the other party. At this moment she was like a ghost. Spiritual power erupted in an instant, and the dark gold dagger disappeared in a flash. With Kaer's current cultivation, how could a sneak attack on a rank 4 great demon not succeed? The dagger directly sank into the back of the great demon's head, and at the same time, the dagger slashed downwards, instantly cutting off the central nervous system connecting the great demon's neck and head. Kaer's assassination could be described as perfect, so much so that the great demon did not even have the chance to let out a scream, and only let out a muffled groan before falling down. Kaer's movements did not stop. In the instant that the great demon fell down and the nightmare horse reacted, her left hand had already turned into a palm and slapped the great demon's body, blasting it forward like a cannonball. At the same time, the dark gold dagger in her right hand instantly pierced into the nightmare horse's back. This stab was too accurate, and it happened to hit the gap between the nightmare horse's two vertebrae. Tyrannical spiritual power erupted in an instant, and the nightmare horse let out a mournful roar, and in the next moment, its body was paralyzed on the ground. Kaer didn't give this nightmare demon horse that had already lost its ability to fight another blow. Instead, borrowing the cover of the great demon's corpse, she instantly retreated into the darkness and disappeared. Retreating after one strike, never lingering to fight, this was what an excellent assassin had to do. The sudden attack caused the great demon cavalry to be in chaos. The demon lord in the lead suddenly turned around, and with a low roar, he shouted loudly in the demon language. Immediately after, a layer of dark red light spread from his body, and in an instant, all the great demon cavalry were enveloped in it. A dark red halo with a diameter of more than 2 meters appeared under the feet of each nightmare horse. As expected of a demon lord, this was impressively an AoE skill. At the same time, 2 rays of red light shot out of the demon lord's blood-red eyes, and instantly swept in the direction that Kaer had disappeared, and the red greatsword in his hand also lit up with a glaring light. The red light in the demon lord's eyes was clearly a divine detection skill, but unfortunately, he did not find what he wanted to find. Kaer seemed to have already flown away like a swan. A fierce glint flashed in the demon lord's eyes. With a shout, the great demon cavalry resumed their journey, but this time, the demon lord was no longer at the front. Instead, he stayed in the middle, and the great demon cavalry escorted him forward. Even their speed had slowed down a bit. His fierce eyes swept the surroundings from time to time, looking for possible clues. Of course, Kaer did not leave. She was still hidden in the shadows, but the demon lord could not find her. The death of a great demon cavalry did not cause the demon cavalry to panic. Instead, their defense became stronger. Kaer discovered that apart from the demon lord in the middle, there were actually 2 grade 6 demon commanders among the great demon cavalry. At this time, they protected the front and back of the cavalry, greatly increasing the difficulty of Kaer's sneak attack. The demon lord was furious. He did not even order his subordinates to collect the corpse of the dead great demon, nor did he care about the heavily injured nightmare horse. His ferocious appearance was even more ferocious in his anger, and he constantly strengthened his perception to search for traces of Kaer. At this moment, a soft clang suddenly rang out in front of the great demon cavalry. The demon lord and the demon commander at the front reacted quickly and leaped out almost at the same time. It was especially so for the level 7 evil demon commander. He was like a blood-colored ball of light that had suddenly erupted. He leaped from the back of the nightmare demon horse, raised the heavy sword in his hand, and pounced towards the direction of the sound with lightning speed. While he was in midair, the blood-colored giant sword had already slashed out. The glaring blood-colored light instantly erupted with a fishy smell. This slash covered an area of more than 10 meters. Wherever it passed, the hard mountain rocks made popping sound. Wherever the blood-colored light shrouded, the rocks melted, as though they had fallen into a magma hell. Unfortunately, no matter how powerful the demon lord was, his attack had to hit its target. Just as his majestic sword flattened a large area of rocks, a scream came from behind him. The demon lord suddenly turned around, just in time to see a black shadow instantly disappear into the darkness. The attack of the grade 6 demon commander at the back also missed. Another great demon cavalryman slid down from the back of the nightmare horse, and it seemed like he would not survive. Roar! This time, the demon lord was truly enraged. He let out a deafening roar towards the sky, followed by a series of hurried incantations. Scarlet bloody light burst forth with him as the center, turning into a thick layer of red light that enveloped all the great demon cavalrymen. This time, if Kai-Er wanted to launch another sneak attack, she would have to destroy his defense first. Kai-Er sighed inwardly. As expected of a grade 7 powerhouse, he made the right choice in the shortest time possible. If the demon lord did not use a group defense spell, she still had many ways to launch a sneak attack. After releasing the group defense spell, the demon lord led the great demon cavalryman up the mountain, and the nightmare horse galloped at full speed towards the Howling Fear Cave. Not being able to launch a sneak attack did not make Kai-Er anxious, and she continued to follow behind calmly. Now was not the time to go all out. The nightmare horse was indeed fast, and the mountain wasn't too steep. They were getting closer and closer to the Howling Fear Cave. Suddenly, a large patch of thorns appeared in front of them. These thorns were over a meter tall, and they were extremely tough. The great demon cavalrymen at the front had no choice but to use their spears to open a path, and their speed decreased. The eyes of the demon lord in the center flashed with a crimson light, and it barked out a few words. Immediately, the Tier 6 demon commander at the forefront took action. The demon commander raised its spear high, and a wave of dark red flames swept out, burning the thorns in front of it. Just as the thorns were burning, a strange energy fluctuation suddenly appeared in the center of the great demon cavalryman. Then, a huge silver light exploded in the center of the cavalryman. The sharp spatial elements were filled with a powerful tearing force, and the nightmare horse that bore the brunt of the attack immediately leaped up. Red light flickered on their bodies, and with the group defense spell released by the demon lord, they were not completely torn apart. The demon lord snorted angrily, and the nightmare horse beneath him raised its front hooves and stomped heavily on the ground. A dark red light filled with darkness and flames instantly spread, and actually suppressed the rapidly erupting silver light. However, this silver light was not completely useless. At least the group defense spell that the demon lord had set up before was blasted apart. Ijun, who was hiding in the cave, was a little pale. The spatial magic just now consumed a lot of his energy, and he did not expect that it would be so easily blocked by the demon lord. It did not even cause any damage to the demon. At this moment, the attacks of the two monster hunters were already in full swing. 10 bright red spikes appeared at the same time as the demon lord's group defense spell disappeared with an ear-piercing whistle. Back then, Yang Wenjiao had a huge headache facing these spikes, but this time, Bai Xiaoma actually released as many as 10. It could be seen that her strength was continuously increasing through continuous training. Although the demon commander at the front had already blocked with all his might, in the end, He only managed to deflect 3 spikes. Bai Xiaoma's spiky plants were extremely crafty, and they shot out from different directions. Of course, the great demon cavalrymen could also block them, but it was not that easy for them to completely block Bai Xiaoma's attack. At least 5 great demons suffered varying degrees of injuries, and puffs of blood exploded in the air. This was only the beginning. A large number of green beans fell from the sky, and these beans enveloped almost all the great demon cavalrymen. Just as the demon overlord was about to deal with those beans, an extremely sharp and terrifying killing intent locked onto his body, as if the god of death had descended. Even a rank 7 expert like the demon lord shuddered the moment he was locked on, and the skill that he was about to release into the air stopped. With his cultivation, he could completely sense the severity of the situation. The beans in the air did not pose any threat to him, but this sharp killing intent was an existence that could threaten his life. The demon commander at the back also wanted to release a group skill to defend against the green beans falling from the sky. Unfortunately, the moment he was about to release his skill, an icy cold light quietly approached his neck from behind. The rank 6 demon commander's reaction was relatively fast. He held his spear horizontally, and at the same time, the nightmare demon horse beneath him erupted with a ring of dark red flames. The black shadow disappeared in a flash, and the attack was retracted midway. It did not really land on him. Even so, the large cloud of beans in the air had already landed on the great demon cavalryman. The beans burst one by one, and the sticky liquid immediately stained the bodies of the great demons and their nightmare demon horses. This feeling of being sticky was not pleasant. However, these great demons and nightmare demon horses had both darkness and fire attribute. Their ability was called Hellfire, and it had a certain restraining effect on Bai Xiaoma's plant summoning. They hurriedly released their flames to burn the sticky liquid. The one restraining the demon lord was naturally Kai Er. The rank 6 demon commander at the back was facing the threat of the other assassin, Han Daosi. Although Han Daosi was not as strong as Kai Er, how could an assassin who could enter the top 60 of the Monster Hunter's trials be ordinary? In a real battle, he naturally could not defeat the demon commander. However, if it was just restraining him, it would be enough for a short period of time. Just as the back was in chaos, the battle at the front had already changed. The rank 6 demon commander at the front flicked away 3 spikes, and immediately locked his gaze on the 2 monster hunters. However, before he could rush out, a dark red figure suddenly appeared in front of him, blocking his path. This figure was extremely tall, with a pair of bat wings spread open on its back, revealing a ferocious expression. Wasn't this the demon lord? In the world of demons there was a clear hierarchy. When the demon commander saw his superior blocking in front of him, he was immediately stunned, and his movements naturally stopped. The demon lord in front of him did not say a word. It only raised its right claw and pointed behind it. The demon commander subconsciously turned around to look. In the instant he turned around, a miraculous scene unfolded behind him. A moment ago, it was still a rank 7 demon lord, but in an instant, it actually transformed into a great bird demon with a pair of wings on its back. In that instant, let alone the great demon cavalryman, even the general rank 21 monster hunters and soldier rank 4 monster hunters were extremely shocked. The golden spear in the shape of a lightning bolt pierced through the demon commander's back. Blinding lightning instantly exploded, causing the demon commander's entire body to convulse and let out a mournful cry. If it was a head-on battle, it was hard to say who would have the upper hand against the demon commander. The great bird demon had the advantage in the air, but the demon commander had the support of his mount, the nightmare demon horse. However, a sneak attack was a different story. The demon commander naturally would not be on guard against the demon lord. How could he have guessed that it was a fatal trap? However, the nightmare demon horse beneath him was also a rank 5 demon. Seeing its knight being ambushed, it immediately charged forward in an attempt to knock the great bird demon horse away. The great bird demon horse reacted very quickly. It spread its wings, and at the same time, exerted force with the lightning spear in its hand. Its entire body suddenly floated horizontally, and a powerful lightning spiritual energy burst out. The heavily injured demon commander's body immediately emitted a charred smell. The nightmare demon horse beneath it also let out a miserable neigh, trembling from the electricity. The great bird demon horse was unforgiving. It swung its spear and threw the heavily injured demon commander behind it. Taking advantage of the nightmare demon horse's paralysis, the great bird demon horse stabbed its spear into its body once more. With its powerful attack power, it ended the nightmare demon horse's life. The great bird demon horse's thick staff struck the demon commander's head like a watermelon smashing into an iron rod. Immediately, various colored juices flew through the air. The demon commander was already dead. The great bird demon horse did not remain idle. After killing the demon commander, it flapped its wings and charged into the great demon cavalry like a tiger among a flock of sheep. Originally, the great bird demon horse had 2 demon commanders guarding the front and back, with a demon lord in the center. Their defensive line was complete and firm. But now that the core of the great demon horse had suddenly fallen, although the great demon horse was strong, they became even more flustered. Most of them had only just dealt with the slime of their bean pod. Bai Xiaoma's yellow coral-like plant could not only spit out sharp thorns once. At the same time as the great avian devil bird pounced forward, 10 more spikes shot out like lightning. At the same time, a large number of beans fell from the bean pod. A huge heavy shield flew out from the side and swept across with a shrill whistle. 3 or 4 great demon cavalrymen were immediately swept down. On the other side, staff-wielding Sima Xian also appeared out of nowhere. This time, he directly released his berserk skill. The staff in his hand danced rapidly, and the holy missile array complemented his valiant attacks. Following closely behind Wang Yuanyuan's powerful divine soul shield, he charged into the enemy's formation, specifically responsible for picking up the loose ends, killing the nightmare horses that had lost their great demons. Wang Yuanyuan and Sima Xian rushed out, but Dian Yen and Han Yu stayed at the entrance of the cave. That place was filled with mages, so they needed their protection. After Yi Jun released a major spell, he also released one spatial spell after another in the air. Give strong support to the soldiers at the front. Just as the situation looked to be in their favor, however, the powerful Tier 7 demon overlord suddenly went berserk. If not for Kai Er's interference, how could the great demon cavalryman led by a demon lord be so easy to deal with? However, when the demon lord saw the great demon commander die and the great demon cavalryman under his command fall like wheat, the demon lord lost his cool. At the end of the day, he wasn't human, so he didn't think too much. He swept his blood-red greatsword horizontally, and the nightmare horse beneath him leaped into the air. In the blink of an eye, he appeared in front of the great avian devil that had just killed the demon commander. The great bird devil beast had just skewered a great devil cavalryman and his nightmare devil horse. Caught off guard, it flew backwards and swept its lightning spear horizontally, leaving behind a trail of lightning. The demon lord hated the great avian devil bird to the bone. He slashed down with his blood-red greatsword, and a 5-meter-long crimson sword light ruthlessly slashed at the great avian devil bird's spear. The difference in ranks was obvious at this moment. The great avian devil bird let out a miserable shriek as the lightning spear in its hand was instantly broken. The huge impact sent its body flying. A huge dark red energy shield erected behind the demon lord, blocking the countless white lights that burst out behind him. At the same time, he turned around and swept his blood-red greatsword horizontally. A sharp sword light accompanied by a large dark red light instantly bloomed. The crimson radiance closed in from all directions, suppressing Kai Er, who was in the middle of releasing the spiritual furnace of 1,000 strikes, forcing her to face it head-on. With a flash of light, Kai Er's body shattered. Of course, it was only an illusion. Kai-Er's real body was already several meters away. Even so, the demon lord's tyrannical attack still sent her body tumbling away. Her body flickered and disappeared into the darkness. Kai-Er wouldn't casually use the spiritual furnace of samsara. Not only would it give her a sense of loss, but it would also drain all of her spiritual energy. It was the final move to perish together with the enemy. The demon lord's attack forced Kai-Er back, but he didn't chase after her. Instead, he let out a roar towards the sky. The remaining dozen or so cavalrymen attacked, and the other demon commander quickly closed in on him. Everyone, retreat! Lu Shi's voice rang out. The great avian devil bird had already returned to the cave entrance. They could clearly see that there was a deep wound on his chest. If his reaction had been just a little slower, that attack would have been enough to cut him in two. This was the strength of a seventh order. Moreover, this demon lord clearly hadn't just entered the seventh order. He was at least at the fourth or fifth order. Wang Yuanyuan and Sima Xian didn't continue fighting and hurriedly retreated towards the cave entrance. Kai-Er and Han Daosi also went around to the sides. Chapter 83. The demon lord was not in a hurry to give chase. Instead, he kept chanting in the demon language. Sometimes it was loud, sometimes it was low, but it was filled with an evil aura. The dark red light on his body became denser and denser, and the red halos under the great demon cavalrymen also became stronger. They pointed their spears forward and chanted in a low voice. The nightmare demon horses under them also emitted layers of red light that strengthened the great demon cavalrymen. It could be said that the success of the two demon hunt squads just now was mainly due to their sneak attack, as well as Kai-Er and Han Daosi's restraint, as well as taking advantage of the terrain, which allowed them to achieve such a good result. The demon cavalrymen were also led by different commanders, so their strength was completely different. Don't think that these demons would be easy to deal with just because they easily won against the 50 demon cavalrymen. The main reason they were able to wipe out the enemy last time was because of Haoyue's chaos elemental stripping. The power of the tri-elemental magic had weakened the great demon cavalrymen by more than half. Moreover, they still had Long Haochen, who was their mainstay. This time, although there were only 30 demon cavalrymen, there was one stage 7 and two stage 6 demon cavalrymen. Just their existence alone was enough to make it difficult for the two monster hunters to deal with. As such, the real battle had only just begun. Just like the tactic that Lu Shi had specified before, defense was their real tactical arrangement. Yea, the abomination overlord didn't join the formation. Instead, he stayed at the back, carrying his blood-red sword and riding a giant nightmare demon horse. It looked like he was supervising the battle, but in fact, he was guarding the rear. In its perception, the only one who could threaten it was Kai-Er. After the injured great bird demon entered the cave, it went straight to Chen Yinger's side and whimpered at her. Its eyes were filled with grievance. Looking at the injuries on its body, Chen Yinger was also very distressed. However, she couldn't let Lu Shi heal it now, because its body was full of darkness and lightning attribute. Once the light attribute healed it, it would have the opposite effect. Without a doubt, this great devil bird was none other than the mirror image divine Pygmadol. It had first transformed into the appearance of a demon lord to confuse the enemy, and then it had eaten the great bird devil's magic crystal. Although they had consumed a level 6 magical crystal, there was no doubt that killing a strong enemy had relieved a lot of pressure on the two teams of monster hunters. The great bird devil snorted and ran to the entrance of the cave. Dense lightning spiritual energy condensed around its body, and it clasped its hands together to form a heart. A ball of golden lightning surrounded by black air quickly condensed. The 10 minutes were not up yet, and he still had a lot of spiritual energy from the magic crystals. Naturally, he could not waste it. The great devil cavalryman's attack finally began. Under the leadership of the demon commander, the spears in their hands burst with a dense dark red light. As they charged, the spears pointed forward, and the incantations paused for a moment. Rays of blood-red light bombarded the entrance of the cave. The most frightening thing was that the dark red light actually fused with the demon commander's attack, condensing into a powerful ray of light that bombarded the entrance of the cave. The powerful might caused the expressions of all the demon hunters in the cave to change. At that moment they finally understood how powerful the demon cavalrymen were. The cavalry's greatest advantage was their charge. Even though they were in a mountainous area, the nightmare demon horse's climbing ability allowed the great devil cavalryman's charge to be as powerful as before. Facing the sharp dark red light, Han Yu did not hesitate and resolutely stood in front of it, holding his heavy shield in front of him. The Holy Light Barrier and Holy Light Seeping Shield were instantly released. 2 fire elemental shields appeared on his body, and at the same time, a silver ray of light bombarded the dark red light. It slightly weakened its attack power. Boom! The powerful attack tore apart the 2 fire elemental shields and Holy Light Barrier in an instant, and then bombarded the shield with the Holy Light Seeping Shield. The shield that Han Qiu gave his grandson was not a powerful weapon. It was just a magic-level shield. Amidst the violent roar, Han Yu's body flashed with a golden light. It was the Divine Guard. He had learned this skill after inheriting Han Qiu's skill. However, because Long Haochen was in the team, he rarely used it. In everyone's opinion, with the Divine Guard, Han Yu should be able to easily block this attack. But in fact, under the full explosion of this attack, Han Yu let out a muffled groan, and the shield in his hand hit his chest. He only managed to stabilize himself after taking 3 steps back. At the same time, the bodies of the 21st General-Grade Monster Hunters lit up. The life-sharing function of the Soul Chain was released, sharing the damage suffered by Han Yu. Puff! Han Yu spat out a mouthful of blood. At the same time, a golden light spread out in the cave and fell on everyone. Lu Shi's group healing was very well timed. Not only was Han Yu injured, but Madul had also turned back from the great bird demon beast to the mirror image mythical pig. Lu Shi's healing was just in time to affect everyone. Han Yu only felt a stuffiness in his chest. At the same time, he sighed inwardly. Long Haochen had always been at the forefront. Today, it was him who truly understood how much pressure Long Haochen had to bear. Moreover, Long Haochen often relied on his saint's spiritual stove to attract the most powerful enemies to him. Han Yu was forced to retreat, and Dian Yen was duty-bound to stand in his previous position. Finally, the mirror image mythical pig's final attack had a certain effect. With a violent explosion, another 2 great fiend cavalrymen were blown away. The speed of the lightning was too fast, so fast that the Demon Lord didn't have time to rescue them. However, this obviously couldn't affect the overall situation. The second wave of tyrannical attacks had already arrived. It was still an attack with superimposed charges. After this attack, the great fiend cavalrymen would rush to the front of the cave. Dian Yan's situation was far from Han Yu's. His cultivation was much worse than Han Yu's. Although he had the assistance of Lin Xian's 2 fire elemental shields, not only was his body bombarded and sent flying, but the shield in his hand was also broken into pieces. He spat out a mouthful of blood. He had already suffered a serious injury. The soldier rank 4 monster hunters didn't have companions to share their injuries. If it wasn't for Lu Shi's timely treatment, it was very likely that Dian Yen would have lost his life. Even if the treatment kept up, he wouldn't be able to fight for a short period of time. The 2 arms that were holding the shield were all broken. The rank 6 demon commander had already rushed to the front, and the great fiend cavalryman's formation also changed in an instant. The original cone-shaped formation suddenly became a straight line. The demon commander was at the forefront, and the other great fiend cavalrymen lined up behind him. Every great fiend pointed the spear in their hands forward. Dark red spiritual power unexpectedly connected into a straight line and poured into the demon commander's body. At this time, if one paid attention, they would discover that only 10 great fiends did this. There were still 3 great fiends idle in the back. Obviously, the demon commander's body also had a limit. The standard spiritual power of a rank 6 was above 4,000. The demon's spiritual power connection method could, at most, raise the spiritual power of the caster to the peak of the rank. It was impossible to produce a breakthrough effect. In other words, the demon commander's spiritual power could at most be raised to within 10,000, and it wouldn't exceed 10,000. Even so, for the 2 monster hunters teams, this was already a disaster. Apart from Long Houchen, who hadn't returned yet, none of them had a spiritual power above 3,000. How could they resist the demon commander that was strengthened by the spiritual power connection method? "I'm first, Yuan second, Sima third," Han Yu shouted as he rushed forward. His aura suddenly increased exponentially. He raised the heavy shield in his hand, and an intense golden light bloomed like a fountain. The almost tangible light's spiritual power brazenly collided with the attacking demon commander. Amidst the explosion, what was shocking was that this time, Han Yu didn't even take half a step back. With a flash of the vengeance of light, he counterattacked and actually fought head-on with the demon commander. Surprisingly, Wang Yuanyuan and Sima Xian didn't go forward to help. Instead, they took half a step back and protected the cave entrance. Lin Stupid kept releasing fire elemental shields to support Han Yu. Yijun also kept releasing his spatial magic to attack. Lu Shi's healing and various buffs continued to be released, and she actually helped Han Yu to miraculously block the attack of the demon commander. Bai Xiaoma's plant summoning was no longer of much use at this time. The great demon knight's body was burning with dark red flames, and there was also the demon lord glaring at them from behind. The summoning magic that she released before had all disappeared, and it was obviously impossible to make up for it from outside. This was obviously not a real miracle, nor was it a qualitative breakthrough for Han Yu. There was only one reason why he suddenly became strong to resist the attack of the demon commander: taking medicine. The superimposed effect of the Spirit Explosion pill and Bloodthirst pill instantly increased his strength by a level. Although the consumption was huge, there was no doubt that the effect was strong enough. With the help of his companions, he was barely able to resist the enemy's attack. Han Yu was very clear that even if Wang Yuanyuan and Sima Xian also took the medicine, they would not be able to block the demon commander's attack head-on like him. This was because they didn't have a skill like Divine Block to increase their defense. So, he made up his mind to last as long as possible no matter what. Wang Yuanyuan was prepared to take over at any time, but at this time, Sima Xian's voice rang out. "Yuanyuan, I'll be second later." Wang Yuanyuan was stunned for a moment, and subconsciously looked at him. Sima Xian's expression was solemn and full of determination. He looked Wang Yuanyuan in the eye and said, "I'm a man." "Okay." Wang Yuanyuan did not continue to pester him. She just walked towards him and gave him a thumbs up. At this time, everyone in the number 21 general-level monster hunters thought of Long Houchen. If he was here, perhaps everything would be different. He would definitely be able to block the enemy's attack without taking the medicine. A team without a core member would definitely suffer a great loss in overall strength. The cold killing intent appeared once again. This time, it was much sharper and sharper than before. In the darkness, Kair slowly walked out. She no longer hid herself, and just walked step by step towards the demon lord. The cave was still able to hold off the devil commander's attacks for the time being, but the devil overlord was the real threat that could kill them. Kair had no other choice. With every step she took, the gray air around Kair's body became denser, and the murderous intent gradually condensed into the shape of a sharp blade behind her. Kair held a dark gold dagger in her right hand and pointed it diagonally to the ground, while her left hand pressed against the center of her chest. She walked very slowly, but the demon lord who saw her clearly became nervous. He held his blood-red heavy sword with both hands and stood still. However, the dark red light around his body continued to strengthen. This time, Kai was serious. If she could not effectively kill the enemy, then they would all die here today. She did not know when Long Houchen would return, but she was the current temporary leader. Everyone stayed for Long Houchen's safe return, so that he would not be attacked by the demons in the Wailing Howl Cave. As Long Houchen's girlfriend, she was duty-bound to use her own strength to ensure everyone's survival. Kai-er's eyes had unknowingly turned gray. Around the sharp blade condensed from murderous intent behind her, 6 different symbols gradually appeared. These symbols were very special, and did not belong to any language. However, when they appeared, the demon lord actually took half a step back, so much so that he did not even react when Han Daosi quietly rushed out from the side and attacked the great demon cavalry behind him. There was even a hint of panic on his sinister face. My eye is your eye, the first of the 6 paths of reincarnation, the eye's reincarnation. Kai moved, and all the sharp murderous intent disappeared the moment she suddenly transformed. In her left hand, a pitch-black dagger that shone with a dark purple light appeared. Behind her, among the 6 symbols from before, the symbol that looked like an eye suddenly enlarged and covered her figure. At this moment, Kai did not seem to be her original self. In the demon lord's eyes, she was like a god of death descending. In a burst of bloody light, the demon lord's entire body seemed to transform into a giant blood-red ball of light. Tens of thousands of rays of bloody light suddenly shot out from his body, attempting to block Kai-er's attack from all directions. This was because in the instant that Kai-er accelerated, the demon lord suddenly discovered that the hair-raising murderous intent had completely disappeared. At the same time, all of his perception of Kai-er had disappeared. The dark purple light crisscrossed, and in the next instant, Kai-er had already appeared 10 feet behind the demon lord. A mournful scream suddenly erupted from the demon lord's mouth. A third of the blood-red heavy sword in his hand had been broken. More importantly, black blood flowed out of his eyes. He was completely blind. There was also a wound on his left shoulder that was so deep that bone could be seen. The nightmare demon horse beneath him had all 4 of its limbs broken, and it lay prostrate on the ground with a mournful cry. However, at the same time, Kai-er's eyes lost all of their luster. My ear is your ear. 6 paths of reincarnation, second style, reincarnation of the ear. Kai did not stop. Pitch black like ink, noble like purple, the sword of reincarnation struck again with a poignant light. Her body also disappeared into the darkness once more, leaving only a second strange symbol in the air. Ever since she had cultivated the spiritual stove of samsara, this was the first time that Kai had used her full strength. As the strongest spiritual stove that humans had discovered, its power could not be compared to any other spiritual stove. Of course, the demon lord would not resign himself to death. As he roared, his body suddenly turned transparent dark red, and there was even an explosive roar from within his body. At this moment, he was like a human knight who had displayed the body of light. With the broken half of the sword in his hand, he suddenly leaped from the nightmare demon horse's back and spun rapidly in the air like a top. The terrifying spiritual power undulations caused the surroundings to turn into a fiery hell. The hard rocks on the ground rapidly melted, and his body actually sank to the ground. Puff! When she reappeared, Kai landed on the other side of the demon lord. The demon lord's rapid spinning also came to an abrupt halt. His entire right arm directly turned into a bloody mist and disappeared in the air. Black blood spurted out of his ears, and he let out a mournful scream as his huge body tumbled to the ground. With his remaining left hand, he frantically punched in Kai-er's direction. A ball of dark red light suddenly emerged from his fist. Within that ball of dark red light there was actually a hexagonal dark red crystal. A magical crystal. In his extreme fear and pain, the demon lord actually used his own magical crystal as the source to launch a final fatal attack on Kai. Even if he succeeded in killing Kai with this attack, it would probably be difficult for him to survive. My taste is your taste. 6 Paths of Reincarnation, 3rd Style, Reincarnation of the Tongue. The dark light didn't disappear this time. The dark purple light was like a shocking rainbow. Kai, who had become one with the sword, was like the Grim Reaper's sword that pierced through the barrier. In the next instant, she once again appeared behind the Demon Lord. The magical crystal froze in the air. In the next instant 2 crisp sounds rang out. The core magical crystal of the Demon Lord's final attack was actually cut in half. It didn't even have the chance to display its power before falling to the ground. The Demon Lord's huge body froze. The flames around him were still burning, but the nightmare demon horse he was riding was frozen along with him. A trail of blood extended from the top of the Demon Lord's head to the belly of the nightmare demon horse. Plop! The split corpse suddenly fell to the ground. Strangely, no blood flowed out. Whether it was the nightmare demon horse or the Demon Lord's flesh, they all turned gray. A bloody light shot out from the Demon Lord's body and exploded into a bloody halo in the air. As the night wind blew, Kai stood there quietly, motionless. Her whole person was like a statue in the darkness, calm and still. All the sharp aura disappeared at this moment. She just stood there, motionless. However, not a single great demon had the courage to attack her. Kai used the spiritual stove of samsara and the scrape of samsara. The situation of the battle was changing rapidly. Han Daosi's sneak attack from the back was successful. More importantly, there were attacks from above the great demon cavalry. Lin Xian had been waiting for an opportunity. She was very clear that when facing the Demon Lord, she would only be courting death if she attacked carelessly. The moment Kai succeeded in restraining the Demon Lord, Lin Xian finally made her move. The Rose Unicorn and her spiritual power merged perfectly. When Han Daosi attacked from the back, a dazzling red light also descended from the sky. Lin Xian's attack was a charged attack. She was only a hair's breadth away from the 5th order. With the help of the charged attack, she could barely use the Holy Sword. Furthermore, she had the Rose Unicorn's buff. Under the double buff, the Holy Light Slash descended from the sky. Her Holy Light Slash was different from Long Houchen's. Other than the light element, it was also filled with fierce fire element. The position she chose to attack was also very clever. It was the center of the great demon knight's spiritual power. If it was too far back, it would not be enough to weaken the Demon Lord. If it was too far forward, the Demon Lord would automatically block it. Boom! The 2 great demon knights were completely sent flying by Lin Xian's attack. There were only 5 great demon knights left who could buff the Demon Lord's spiritual power. Han Daosi also succeeded. His dagger fiercely stabbed into the neck of a great demon knight, completely severing its central nervous system. Their actions greatly reduced the pressure on the defense at the cave entrance. Even so, the situation at the cave entrance was still very dangerous. Han Yu held on for a whole 3 minutes. Finally, he could not hold on any longer. The shield and sword in his hands shattered and he was forced to retreat. Ma Kun, who was following behind, only managed to block 3 attacks before he was sent flying, blood spurting from his mouth. The staff in his hand was broken into 2 pieces. Wang Yuanyuan fared better than Ma Kun. She did not specialize in defense, so she could only rely on the giant Soul Divine shield to fight the Demon Lord's attacks. With the buffs from the Spirit Explosion Pill and the Bloodthirst Pill, she could last twice as long as Ma Kun. Just as she was pushed back, the spiritual power behind the Demon Lord's spiritual power dropped. However, there was no longer enough close combat to defend the cave. At this critical juncture, a great demon bird covered in lightning once again appeared on the battlefield. The mirror image treasure pig attacked once more. However, even though the Demon Lord's spiritual power had been greatly weakened, it was still far stronger than the great bird demon. Moreover, the mirror image treasure pig was only a mirror great bird demon. Its ability to use its abilities could not compare to the real great bird demon. It did not have a soul chain to distribute the damage. Under the powerful attacks of the demon lord, it was forced to retreat into the cave. At this moment, the situation of everyone in the cave was getting worse. Bai Xiaoma and Yi Jun had exhausted their spiritual power. Lu Shi's healing was not effective on the great bird demon. Under the effects of the soul chain, Han Yu, Wang Yuanyuan, Sima Xian, and Lin Xian were all heavily injured. Han Yu and Sima Xian had even lost their weapons. Although the demon lord's spiritual power was not as terrifying as 10,000, it was still around 6,000 or 7,000. Once the front line of defense collapsed, the two monster hunters' teams would be slaughtered. Finally, the great bird demon was sent flying and slammed into the wall behind it. The huge wound made it impossible for it to maintain its mirror image form. The heavily injured mirror image treasure pig revealed its true form. Han Yu, Wang Yuanyuan, and Sima Xian pounced at the same time. However, the demon lord only turned its body sideways and sent them flying. Deep wounds were left on Sima Xian and Han Yu's bodies. Within the cave, the only one who still had a relatively complete fighting capacity was Lin Xian. Fire Elemental Shield, Fire Resistance Ring. Lin Xian's hand trembled as he held the Fire Cloud Crystal Staff. In terms of spiritual power, he was one of the best in the team. However, he was a mage that could not attack. Ah! A shriek suddenly came from Lin Xian's back, followed by the sound of a body falling. A silvery light suddenly burst forth beneath the demon commander's feet, and that disdainful, malevolent figure was unexpectedly frozen in place. Lin Xian suddenly turned his head and saw Yi Jun's body burning with silver flames. Yi Jun hurriedly said, "Quick, attack him. I can't hold on for much longer." Life fire, that was the life fire. By doing this, Yi Jun was burning his own life force. Only when his life ended would this spell end. The demon lord did not move. Its ferocious face was not far from Lin Xian. However, it couldn't attack. The soul chain's life sharing couldn't remove the backlash. When the spirit explosion pill and bloodthirst pill disappeared, Han Yu, Wang Yuanyuan, and Sima Xian had all lost their ability to fight. Their spiritual power had been completely drained. I don't know any attack spells," Lin Xian said in a daze. Lu Shi used all her strength and released a series of holy light bullets at the demon lord. She roared, "Bastard, don't tell me you don't even know a basic fireball spell?" In the cave, the only one who could attack was Lin Xian. However, his face was deathly pale. The staff in his hand was emitting flames, but he couldn't release a single attack spell. "I can't hold on anymore," Yi Jun roared. Blood flowed from his 7 orifices. Lin Xian roared crazily. The resistance ring of fire bloomed. With a loud bang, the demon lord was sent flying out of the cave. It also ended the restriction of Yi Jun's magic. "You!" Yi Jun looked at Lin Xian, full of unwillingness, and fell into a deep coma just like that. The demon commander was sent flying out of the cave. Just as he was about to launch another massacre, a beam of golden light suddenly descended from the sky like a shocking rainbow. An ear-piercing howl accompanied by an incomparably powerful aura descended, bringing with it an incomparably sharp attack power. The pressure of the air made it so that the demon commander, who had a spiritual energy value of over 6,000, was unable to dodge at all. The last thing he saw in his life was a figure riding a 3-headed beast descending from the sky, and his body was completely golden. Puff! The sword broke and the person broke. One sword cut them in half. The demon lord, along with the rank 5 nightmare beast he was riding, were cut in half by this shocking attack. Their corpses fell to the side. The 5 great demon cavalrymen behind him spat out mouthfuls of black blood at the same time. Roar! How Yue's 3 heads roared at the same time. 3 breaths shot out, sending the 5 demon riders flying. Long Houchen's figure flashed out. The light elemental sprite Yiting behind him kept producing rings of white light around Long Houchen. The spirit-gathering ring of light was replenishing Long Houchen's spiritual power at an astonishing rate. Yes, at the moment of life and death, Long Houchen finally rushed back. He was holding blue rain and hibiscus of light in both hands. The thick golden light formed a golden halo around his body. With the amplification from the light elemental sprite Yiting, even without Haoyue, he was confident that he could take on any rank 6 powerhouse. Without a doubt, the attack that killed the Demon Lord was the Shura Slash. If it was just the Shura Slash, it would not be so powerful. However, what if it was the Shura Slash that was charged up? On the way back, with Haoyue climbing, Long Houchen was immersed in comprehending the Shura Slash. He quickly discovered that his newly learned Shura Slash could be used in tandem with the charged-up skill. This way, the power of the Shura Slash became even more terrifying. If he was alone, he naturally would not use the charged-up skill in battle. That would be courting death. However, do not forget that he still had Haoyue's help. Standing on Haoyue's back, he had time to complete the charged-up skill. As for that demon commander, it became the first sacrifice that the Azura would behead. The Shura Slash that had 3,000 spiritual power was so powerful that even Long Houchen was shocked. However, he did not have the time to be excited. On the way back, he could feel the damage caused by the life-sharing of the soul chain. As a knight, he could naturally heal with Haoyue and share the pain. But how could he not know that his companions were in danger? He hurriedly rushed back with Haoyue. Before leaving the cave, he had already started to prepare the Shura Slash. Long Houchen believed that the enemy must be led by a strong person, so it was of utmost importance to deal a heavy blow to the enemy's leader. Moreover, the appearance of the eternal melody allowed Long Houchen to have the spiritual aperture ability of a rank 6 knight in advance. Whenever he used an attack, his spiritual power recovery speed would be 3 times faster than before. With Yiting's help, his spiritual power could recover at a terrifying rate of 20 points per second during battle. Long Houchen was completely sure that the Eternal Melody Necklace was at least a legendary equipment. And that was the most conservative estimate. Using the 9 dragon steps, Long Houchen's figure shuttled between the Demon Knight like an illusion. He was very anxious, because not long before he rushed out of the cave, he clearly felt a strong sense of unease. That feeling of anxiety made his heart flutter. The lightning thorn carried an illusory misty radiance that spread in an instant. This was no longer the original lightning thorn, but a lightning thorn with ripple of light. With Long Houchen's current cultivation, how could these great demon cavalrymen resist him? Dazzling heaven and earth flickered behind him. Little Light's spiritual support instantly fell on Long Houchen's body, while Little Fire and Little Green also cast one low-level magic after another like a torrential storm to protect his 2 flanks. Not a single demon rider could block Long Houchen's blue rain and hibiscus of light with their spears. The light swallowed, and only the sound of swords entering their bodies could be heard. Lightning Thrust was only a low-tiered skill for punishment paladins. Normally, high-tiered experts would only use it against low-tiered opponents. It was also used as a combo with other skills, because Lightning Thorn's attack power was dispersed, and it didn't need to consume too much spiritual power to transform into many swords. The high-level knight rarely used it. However, in Long Houchen's hands, this skill completely changed. After he obtained Blue Rain and Hibiscus of Light, the power of Lightning Thorn had greatly increased. From a pure light dazzling skill, it became a light and water dual piercing skill. Now, with the addition of Ripple of Light, the attack power of each sword was greatly enhanced. Long Houchen had just comprehended Ripple of Light, and didn't have the time to truly improve Lightning Thorn. Even so, it wasn't something those ordinary demon riders could block. With Han Daosi and Lin Xian's cooperation, the rest of the battle quickly ended. All of the demon riders had died halfway up the mountain. There were a few who wanted to escape, But how could they outrun the rose unicorn that could fly in the sky? They were all killed by Lin Xian. Long Haochen, you've finally returned. Lin Xian landed on the ground on her rose unicorn and dismounted. However, when she arrived in front of Long Haochen, she discovered that Long Haochen was standing there, his body trembling slightly. Lin Xian followed Long Haochen's gaze and saw that not far away, Kai Er was quietly standing there like a statue. Such an intense battle had occurred, but she didn't react at all. She was like a walking corpse. Kai Er. Long Haochen's voice trembled. Light flashed in his hands, and blue rain and hibiscus of light disappeared. He took quick steps, and even used an assault skill, instantly rushing in front of Kai Er. A dark golden light flashed, and Kai Er's right hand was raised slightly. However, she only raised it for a moment before it fell back down. Her body went limp, and she fell into Long Haochen's arms. Long Haochen tightly hugged her soft body, and without hesitation, he enveloped himself and Kai Er with a holy light barrier. However, he quickly discovered that Kai Er's vitals weren't in any discomfort. It was just that she had used up a lot of her spiritual energy both internally and externally. Her whole body went limp in Long Haochen's arms, and she couldn't even lift a finger. How could this be? How could this be? It's all my fault for coming back late. Long Haochen regretted not coming back earlier. He was smart enough to understand why his companions were fighting to the death here, even when his mind was in a mess. All of this was caused by my own misjudgment. I thought that the demons wouldn't be able to arrive in a short time, so I stayed for too long. It's all my fault, it's all my fault. Long Haochen's heart was filled with self-blame. He finally saw the demon lord's corpse that had been cut in half. What a huge demon, and a nightmare demon horse. Long Haochen gently stroked Kai Er's long hair. Silly, did you use the spiritual stove of samsara again? It's all my fault, it's all my fault. Hugging Kai Er tightly in his arms, Long Haochen's heart ached so much that he couldn't breathe. His eyes turned red. Chapter 84. Long Haochen stuffed a great recovery elixir into his mouth. After chewing for a bit, he lowered his head, lifted Kai Er's veil, and poured the elixir liquid into Kai Er's mouth. Kai Er's lips were very cold and soft, but how could Long Haochen be in the mood to experience this kind of charm? Being kissed by Long Haochen and feeling his familiar breath, Kai Er's body trembled slightly. There was a reaction. Long Haochen heaved a sigh of relief and carefully pushed the elixir liquid into Kai Er's body with his spiritual power. Long Haochen hugged her tightly. Tears glistened in his red eyes, and his body trembled uncontrollably. Kai Er, which of the 6 senses did you lose this time? Perhaps it was the effect of the great recovery elixir, or perhaps it was because Kai Er felt Long Haochen's intentions, but her fingers moved slightly. Long Haochen hurriedly held her hand and let her fingers move in his palm. Very quickly, Long Haochen's face became pale. Smell, sight, hearing, and taste. Out of the 6 senses, she had actually lost 4. Kai Er had once briefly explained some of the uses of the spiritual stove of samsara to Long Haochen. The more powerful the attack, the more it needed to pay. Losing the 4 senses was already pushing the spiritual stove of samsara to its peak. If the enemy was a bit stronger, and her spiritual stove of samsara released the last 2 senses, then it was very likely that she would never be able to recover. Losing 1 sense required a month to recover. Aside from having the spiritual stove of samsara, which required her to maintain one of the 6 senses at all times, she had used the 3 attacks of the spiritual stove of samsara. Losing the 2nd sense required 2 months to recover, and it was stacked. As for losing the 3rd sense, it would take 4 months, which would increase exponentially. Hearing, sight, and taste. Losing these 3 senses would require a full 7 months to return to normal. Furthermore, if she continued to use the spiritual stove of samsara during this period of time, she would need another 8 months to recover if she lost another sense. If he used the fifth layer of the spiritual stove of samsara, which was also the last layer, then all his six senses would never be able to recover. He would only be a walking corpse with one breath left. Of course, the lethality of the spiritual stove of samsara would be terrifying to the extreme if it reached that stage. Back then, the son of samsara had relied on the fifth layer of the spiritual stove of samsara to severely injure the demon emperor of that generation. Moreover, in the next 7 months, Kyra would not recover those three senses one by one. Instead, she would have to wait for the 7 months to pass before she could recover them all at once. The backlash of the spiritual stove of samsara was also incomparably terrifying. Just as Long Houchen felt a sharp pain in his heart and hugged Kyra tightly, not knowing how to comfort her, he suddenly raised his head and looked into the distance. On the opposite mountain peak, a group of evil demon knights riding on nightmare demon horses were diving down from the opposite mountain peak. Their target was them. At that moment, the group of evil demon knights had a total of about 30 riders. It was temporarily unclear how strong they were. Long Houchen gently placed Kyra to the side. Then, he slowly straightened his body and turned to Lin Xian and Han Daosi. "You two guard the cave. Leave the rest to me." Seeing Houchen's expression, Lin Xian could not help but be stunned. Between the two monster hunters, she had known Long Houchen for the longest time. However, she had never seen her kind-hearted younger brother with such an expression. At that moment, Long Houchen's eyes were bloodshot. His body emitted a biting cold murderous aura. Light elements fluctuated around his body in an unstable manner. His sharp eyes were even filled with a hint of bloodlust. The heavy injuries caused by Kyra using the spiritual stove of samsara caused Long Houchen to completely explode. He needed to vent. He needed to use the blood of his enemies to wash away the anger in his heart. Lin Xian and Han Daosi did not say anything. They immediately returned to guard the cave. As for Long Houchen, he took off the Holy Spirit armor on his body. At that moment, Long Houchen suddenly felt a cool feeling coming from the eternal melody in his chest. It calmed the pain and anger in his heart. At the same time, Long Houchen was surprised to find that there seemed to be a strange energy flowing into the eternal melody. The moment the energy entered the eternal melody, it disappeared without a sound. What is this? Long Houchen's senses were much sharper than the average person's. He looked in the direction of the energy, and was surprised to find that the source of the energy was actually the great evil demon knight and their mounts. Soul. It was soul energy. Long Houchen's mind instantly gave him such a judgment. This was the eternal melody absorbing the souls of the dead to replenish the eternal sleep. This knowledge appeared completely naturally in Long Houchen's mind. Ever since he entered the Tower of Eternity, all his future experiences required the support of a large amount of soul energy. Although the Tower of Eternity itself had a large amount of energy, if it was only consumed in one direction, it would eventually be exhausted. As he wore the eternal melody, he himself was the entrance to the Tower of Eternity. He was also the collector of souls. Therefore, the souls of the corpses that died not long ago, regardless of race, would be collected by the eternal melody. This feeling was very uncomfortable for Long Houchen as the Son of Light, but he had no other choice. The eternal melody had already completely fused with his body and could not be separated. Moreover, he couldn't easily tell others about this matter. Only when he met with his father and teacher would he have the possibility of telling them. After getting the answer, Long Houchen could not help but frown. But at this time, he did not have much time to think. After quickly taking off the outer layer of the armor, Long Houchen tore his warrior's clothes into strips. Then, he carried Kai-Er on his back and put on the Holy Spirit armor that could change according to his body shape. It could be said that Kai-Er was completely attached to his body. Long Houchen knew that Kai-Er could not hear him at this time, so he pulled Kai-Er's arms around his neck and used a strip of cloth to tie her mouth. Then, he wrote on her palm, From this moment onwards, before you fully recover, I will never let you leave my side. I will always carry you on my back and fight. I will never give up and never be separated." Kai Er's head was close to the side of Long Houchen's neck, and 2 drops of clear tears rolled down her cheeks. Today was the first time she had used the power of the spiritual stove of samsara. When she used the spiritual stove of samsara to the 3rd level and killed the evil demon lord, she felt as if she had lost her 4 senses. It was as if she had returned to the most terrifying period of her life, when she had lost her 4 senses. The helplessness and loneliness almost caused her heart to collapse. Coupled with the weakness of her body, Kai Er seemed to feel the arrival of death. The only thing that kept her heart from collapsing was that trace of hope. The hope that Long Houchen could return alive. He had returned. He had returned in the end. While Kai Er was enduring the pain of loneliness, helplessness, and no sound, no smell, and no sight, he had returned. When his familiar scent appeared in Kai Er's senses, Kai Er's heart trembled. The trace of hope in her heart also became a flame of hope that rose and burned. When Long Houchen kissed her lips and transferred the elixir of the Great Recovery Pill into her body, the warmth brought by the Great Recovery Pill and Long Houchen's familiar scent finally made Kai Er feel completely different from when she had cultivated the spiritual stove of samsara. At this moment, when she felt the words that Long Houchen had written on her palm, Kai Er's heart was no longer moved. It was a kind of happiness where their hearts were connected. My fool. As long as I have him, even if the whole world gives up on me, I won't be alone. There could only be one reason for a woman to selflessly give up on a man. And that was love. Feeling Kai Er's long legs wrap around his waist, that soft and full feeling made the pain in Long Houchen's heart lessen a little. However, when he raised his head and looked at the rapidly approaching demon cavalryman, the killing intent in his eyes was reignited. It's these bastards, it's them that made my Kai Er need 7 months to return to normal. It's them, it's them. With a buzzing sound, blue rain and hibiscus of light appeared in Long Houchen's palms again. With another flash of light, the Holy Spirit sword also appeared in his left hand. His figure flashed and he landed on Hao Yue's back. The light elemental spirit Yiting had been dutifully releasing the spirit-gathering halo to help him recover his spiritual power. It could recover up to 20 points of spiritual power every second. In just a short while, Long Houchen's spiritual power had almost recovered by half. The enemies were getting closer and closer. On the other side of the cave, Lin Xian glared at Lin Xian with her almond-shaped eyes. "Are you a piece of trash? Don't tell me you can't even cast a fireball spell? Do you know how much life force Yi Jun used to confine the demon commander? If not for Houchen's timely return, we would have all died here today. Are you really a 5th-grade magician? You're not fit to be called a demon hunter." It was no wonder that Lin Xian was so angry. She had seen the situation in the cave clearly and had rushed back as fast as she could to provide support. Lin Xian's weakness in using the defying ring of fire at the last moment had thoroughly infuriated the unyielding punishment knight. In a situation where everyone had given their all, only Lin Xian hadn't released a powerful attack. With his cultivation, if he had been able to release a few powerful fire spells at that time, he might have been able to heavily injure the demon commander. Lin Xian's complexion was somewhat pale. Hearing Lin Xian's angry accusations, he didn't say a word. "Say something. Are you a man or not? Your control over magic is so strong, and you're a 5th-grade magician. Why don't you know a single offensive spell? I really regret not using all my strength to stop Houchen." "Enough, Lin Xian." Han Yu struggled to stand up. Wang Yuan, Sima Xian, and Chen Inger also gathered around him. "Lin Xian, you should know that Lin Xian is a potioneering apothecary. Why do you think the few of us were so much stronger than Dian Yan and lasted so long? That's because we took the medicinal pills provided by Lin Xian. Lin Xian doesn't know how to attack, but without him, we wouldn't have been able to last until Houchen returned. Lin Xian is a member of our 21st General Grade Monster Hunters. His efforts are obvious to all. He is also an indispensable part of our group. Everyone has their own shortcomings, why can't he have them? Lin Xian said angrily. Yes, everyone has their shortcomings, but attacking is a magician's duty. As a high-explosive fire magician, he doesn't even know a basic fireball spell. Why is that? I just want him to give me a reason that can convince me. If one day Houchen can't defend against the enemy's attacks, and has to rely on his own attacks to finish off the enemy, what should I do? He can obviously strengthen his attack, so why must he be weak? I don't want my brother to look at him in despair one day. Okay, I'll tell you. Lin Xian was almost shouting. He took a step forward and arrived in front of Han Yu. His body was trembling violently, and his pale face was flushed. I don't know any offensive spells, not a single one. You're right, my situation is different from Sima's. It's because he can't learn healing spells, but it's not that I can't learn them. As long as I'm willing, I can learn any fire magic that my strength can reach. But I don't want to learn, I can't learn. After a slight pause, Lin Xian's eyes were filled with tears. My parents, when they were in the magic temple, were even more talented than me. When they were only 30 years old, they had already successfully broken through to the 6th rank, and were advancing towards the 7th rank. They were known as the leaders of the younger generation. My father was best at all kinds of offensive spells, and he spent his whole life researching powerful fire magic. One day, he made a mistake. He accidentally detonated a huge amount of compressed fire element. At that time, my mother happened to bring me to find him. In order to protect me, my mother used her own body to block the terrifying explosion, and she and my father died in that disaster. That year, although I was only 5 years old, I can never forget the terrifying explosion of the fire element. If it wasn't for offensive spells, how could I have lost my parents? If it wasn't for offensive spells, I would still have a happy family. If it wasn't for offensive spells, I would still have a happy family. I didn't learn offensive spells because I didn't want to follow in their footsteps. I didn't want my friends and family to die under my spells one day. From then on, no matter how my grandfather forced me, I refused to learn any offensive spells, until now. But I'm not useless. I will use everything I have to help my team. If one day the situation you mentioned really happens, then I will definitely die in front of everyone, and use my corpse to prove what I said today. After saying this, Lin Xian was already sobbing. Han Yu sighed, gently patted his shoulder, and said to Lin Xian, I can understand your feelings, but why do you have to open up the scars in his heart? If it wasn't for special reasons, why wouldn't he learn offensive spells? We don't ask, not because we don't have doubts, but we will choose to trust our friends. We will always be like this. Lin Xian will always be a part of us monster hunters. Chapter 85. Long Houchen quietly stood on Hao Yue's back and stared at the approaching great demon cavalryman. His killing intent became stronger and stronger. Feeling Kai Er's soft body on his back, he felt a sharp pain in his heart. He had never hated anything as much as he did now. But his hatred for these great demon cavalrymen had reached its peak. For me, and for me again, Kai Er suffered such great harm. Even if I have to bleed to the last drop of my blood, I won't let them hurt Kai Er again. I want to kill them, I want to kill all the demons. The enemies were getting closer and closer. Although Long Houchen didn't have any vision enhancement skills, his vision had always been good. Now, he could already distinguish the strength of the enemies. There were 30 great demon cavalrymen, the same number as before. The one leading the group was a Tier 6 demon commander. There were no other demon powerhouses present. Clearly, these 30 great demon cavalrymen were the reserve team from before. They were responsible for providing support and responding to changes. After receiving the Demon Lord's signal, they quickly rushed over. A golden mist of light began to appear around Long Houchen's body. The sudden golden light was as bright and dazzling as a lighthouse in this approaching dawn. The great demon cavalrymen clearly saw it. To them, this golden light that was filled with the aura of light was like the dark spiritual power that Long Houchen saw. Gathering power. Long Houchen could clearly feel the liquid spiritual energy in his body condensing at an astonishing speed. He stabbed the Holy Spirit sword in his left hand into the ground beside Haoyue and changed to holding blue rain and hibiscus of light with both hands. His entire being had entered a wondrous state. As his cultivation increased, the speed at which he gathered power was much faster than before. The powerful spiritual energy that was constantly condensing was frantically injected into blue rain and hibiscus of light through his hands. Haoyue's 3 big heads also began to chant at the same time, each chanting a different incantation. The wonderful rhythm didn't affect Long Houchen at all. Instead, it was strangely harmonious. At this time, the cave behind Long Houchen had calmed down. However, Lin Xian, who was standing at the entrance of the cave, had a constantly changing expression. There was regret and guilt in her eyes, but her hands that were holding the 2 swords were still steady. Inside the cave, the gazes of the others were fixed on Long Houchen. They looked at the imposing manner that the figure, which was not too tall and big, brought to them, as if he could hold the pass against 10,000 enemies by himself. Although Long Houchen was the only one who appeared outside to face the enemies, surprisingly, both General Level Number 21 and Soldier Level Number 4 monster hunters felt a sense of security. It was as if as long as Long Houchen was, no one could hurt them. Everyone was trying to recover their spiritual energy. Lu Shi would release a healing spell whenever she recovered a little spiritual energy. Most of her healing abilities were focused on Dian Yan, who was unconscious. Dian Yan's injuries were quite serious. Taking a direct hit from the demon commander, which had a spiritual energy value of nearly 10,000, was like crashing into a mountain. Not only was his shield broken, both his arms were fractured, and even his sternum and ribs were damaged to a certain extent. His internal organs were shaken out of place. If it wasn't for Lu Shi's timely treatment, he would have died from his internal organs ruptured. Long Houchen, be careful of their spiritual energy combo, Lin Xian shouted in Long Houchen's direction. They had already faced the great demon cavalrymen twice. The first time, the great demon cavalrymen couldn't unleash their full strength under Haoyue's chaotic elemental stripping magic. The second time, because of Kai Er's strength, the great demon cavalryman's attack was greatly disturbed, and they even killed the enemy's mainstay, the demon lord. At that time, if the demon lord wasn't afraid of Kai Er's sharp murderous aura, no one would be able to block the great demon cavalryman's attack with his spiritual energy combo. At this moment, they were facing the great demon cavalryman for the 3rd time. Without Kai Er's harassment, there was no possibility of Haoyue's sneak attack. Long Houchen was the only one facing the great demon cavalryman. Would he be able to defeat them? Behind the demon commander, there were already 10 great demon cavalrymen lined up neatly, ready to release their spiritual energy combo. The other 20 great demon cavalrymen split into 2 teams and circled around from the sides, forming a 3-sided encirclement. The powerful pressure continued to rise. No matter how they looked at it, Long Houchen didn't seem to be able to block them head-on. At this moment Haoyue moved. His huge body carried Long Houchen as he charged towards the demon commander, who was in the spiritual energy combo state. The demon commander was a grade 6 demons expert and could be considered to be experienced and knowledgeable. When he saw the intensity of the light element rising around Long Houchen's body, he could determine that the human in front of him definitely couldn't compare to him in terms of spiritual energy, not to mention that he was in the spiritual energy combo state. With a sinister smile, the demon commander rode the nightmare demon horse and charged straight towards Long Houchen. The 10 great demon cavalrymen behind him pointed their spears forward, dark red spiritual energy connected, as if they were one person. They followed the demon commander and charged forward quickly. It must be known that these great demon cavalrymen were the elites of the demons. They had been trained for a long time, and on the battlefield, they were on the same level as the human brilliant angel knight group. With the spiritual energy combo technique, they had caused the Temple League to suffer many losses. Every time they encountered them on the battlefield, the Temple League could only choose to send out their experts to deal with them. Long Houchen was alone. He was only riding Haoyue and standing on Haoyue's back. Meanwhile, the dark red flames on the demon commander's body were rising wildly, illuminating an area of tens of square meters. Comparing the momentum of both sides, Long Houchen was obviously much weaker. However, Haoyue's charge was still full of momentum. It had stopped chanting its incantation, but if one looked closely, they would discover that Haoyue's 3 heads and 6 eyes had turned completely purple. The surface of the scales on its body was also rippling with a faint layer of purple. The distance between both sides was getting closer and closer. From 100 meters to 50 meters, then 30 meters, 20 meters, 10 meters. Both sides were about to enter each other's attack range. At this moment, all 3 of Haoyue's heads let out a deafening roar at the same time. One could clearly see a burst of intense purple light abruptly erupting from its 3 heads. Then, a shocking scene unfolded. With Haoyue's roar, the body of the demon commander, which was originally surrounded by intense dark red flames, trembled, and the enormous spiritual power around its body suddenly disappeared. Meanwhile, the great demon cavalrymen and their nightmare demon horses behind him swayed as though they were drunk. How could they still maintain the spiritual power connection? The golden light instantly pierced through the sky, and the compressed air produced a violent explosion. In the next moment, the sharp whistling stopped below the belly of the nightmare demon horse that the demon commander was riding. The golden light seemed to be fixed in the air. Die! Long Houchen roared, and Haoyue collided with the demon commander. Strangely, the demon commander with the additional golden line on its body did not move at all until Haoyue collided with it. The spear in its hand, its body, and the nightmare demon horse were abruptly scattered. It was the same as the demon commander that died in Long Houchen's hands, one slash of the sword. The previous demon commander that died in Long Houchen's hands could be said to have been greatly weakened. In addition to Yi Jun's magic restriction and Lin Xian's resistance ring of fire, Long Houchen's sneak attack was successful. In that case, there was no fluke this time. It was an instant kill in a head-on collision. The demon commander, who was at its peak state and under the effect of spiritual connection, couldn't even receive a single blow from Long Houchen. No one knew what ability Haoyue released with that roar was, but when it charged past the 10 great demon cavalrymen behind the demon commander with Long Houchen, all that was left was a ground of corpses, including the nightmare demon horse. Not a single corpse was left intact. And these great demon cavalrymen didn't even have much power to resist. After releasing that roar, Haoyue completely concealed his aura. The color of his eyes returned to normal, and he didn't release any more magic. He seemed to be a little tired. However, what he did was enough. Helping Long Houchen break the demon commander's spiritual power connection determined the direction of this battle. Affected by Haoyue's roar, the demon commander didn't even have time to release an effective skill before it was cut in half by the Shura slash. The following process was a massacre. Long Houchen only used a few skills: charge, assault, lightning stab, and cross slash. The few low-level punishment knight skills that Long Houchen used were extremely powerful. With the light elemental fairy Yiting supporting him from behind, using these skills that consumed less spiritual energy wasn't much of a burden to Long Houchen at all. The Azura slash that he had accumulated left him with only a few hundred spiritual energy points, but with his powerful spiritual energy recovery speed, it was more than enough to deal with the remaining enemies. Don't forget that Long Houchen's cultivation base was getting closer and closer to the 6th order. Everyone in the cave saw a dazzling scene. A golden figure was standing on the mountainside, looking disdainfully at the enemies. As the golden light flashed, the enemy's flesh and blood flew everywhere. Furthermore, he was carrying Kaer, who had lost her four senses. One person, he was just one person. With the help of his mount, he was actually slaughtering the powerful great demon cavalryman. The Sixth Order demon commander was actually killed in an instant. This was completely out of the Fifth Order knight's range. Feeling the cold killing intent bursting from Long Houchen's body, the 21st General level monster hunters were more excited, while the 4th Soldier level monster hunters were more ashamed. The longer they were in contact, the more the 4th Soldier level monster hunters felt the difference between them and the 21st General level monster hunters. Long Houchen and Kaer, this pair of lovers, had always played the role of stabilizing the situation. The other members also displayed their strong abilities. More importantly, they were united. The whole process only took 10 minutes. Long Houchen did not let the last enemy escape. The last great demon knight died under the Holy Spirit sword that he threw out, staking it all in one throw. From the looks of it, Long Houchen still had strength to spare. The light elemental fairy, Yiting, had been dutifully helping him recover. Without removing Kaer from his back, Long Houchen shook off the blood on his sword and strode back to the entrance of the cave with Haoyue. Long Houchen did not have any powerful group healing spells, but that did not mean that Haoyue could not. A holy light illumination skill instantly filled every corner of the cave. Everyone, get ready. I'll clean up the battlefield. We have to leave this place as soon as possible. Long Houchen's voice was a little hoarse. After saying this, he turned around and walked out, storing the corpses of the great demon cavalrymen and nightmare horses into the Eternal Melody. That's right, the Eternal Melody itself was a storage magic tool. As for how big it was, Long Houchen could not feel it with his current mental strength. After the massacre, Long Houchen could feel it more clearly. Every time he killed a great demon cavalryman, the soul of the great demon cavalryman would immediately be absorbed by the Eternal Melody. Moreover, after killing an enemy, the soul of the enemy seemed to be absorbed more intensely than from the corpses on the battlefield. Since there was no way to stop it, he could only pretend that it did not happen. He really did not understand the energy of the soul. With the help of the Eternal Melody, Long Houchen cleaned up the battlefield very quickly. When he returned to his companions, apart from Dianyan who was still unconscious, the others had at least regained their ability to move. Lin Xian seemed to have recovered from his previous excitement. Seeing Long Houchen easily clean up the battlefield and collect the corpses of the great demon cavalrymen and nightmare horses, he could not help but widen his eyes. With his back facing the others, he gestured to Long Houchen. Long Houchen glanced at him and nodded silently. "How is everyone?" Long Houchen asked. Han Yu said, "Apart from Dianyan who is seriously injured, the others have no problem walking. It's just that it will be a little difficult for them to continue fighting. Yuan, Sima and I have all taken bloodthirst pills and spirit explosion pills. I'm afraid we will be weak for a while. Ing Er's Madul piglet is also heavily injured. It will not be able to absorb magic crystals to fight for a while." Lu Shi said, "Our situation here is slightly better. Han Daosi and Lin Xian still have the strength to fight. King Yi burned his life force and fell into a coma. As his spiritual energy recovers, I will need at least 6 hours before I can use the group healing skill again. Dian Yen would need at least 7 days of my treatment before he would be able to recover his battle prowess. Xiaoma is about the same as me, she also needs about 6 hours to recover her spiritual power." In this battle, although no one from the 2 Monster Hunters teams died, it could be said that they were all crippled. The only ones who could really fight were Long Houchen, Lin Xian and Han Daosi. Kai was even more miserable than Dianyan who was seriously injured. She lost her 4 senses and needed 7 months to recover. Long Houchen nodded silently. After thinking for a while, he said, I will let Haoyue bring Dianyan and King Yi. We will immediately set off, cross the mountain and go deep into the rear. Without an obvious target like the Wailing Howl Cave, it will be easier for us to hide in the mountains. We will try to return when everyone has recovered. Lu Shi nodded silently, but there was a hint of hesitation in her eyes when she looked at Long Haochen. Long Haochen knew what he was thinking. I have recorded everything that happened in the Wailing Howl Cave. This is obviously not a place that we can fully investigate. After we settle down, I will share the scouting gem for everyone to see. The recording of the scouting gem could not be faked. At least, none of them had the ability to do so. That would require powerful alchemy. Hearing Long Haochen's words, Lu Shi suddenly felt a little embarrassed. He just nodded at Long Haochen. Long Haochen said, "Let's go now. The magic crystals from the enemy corpses that I collected just now will be 30% for your team." Lu Shi hurriedly said, "No need, we didn't do anything." Long Haochen shook his head. His tone was obviously a little tougher. "We are a team now. Everything will be distributed according to what we agreed on. Without you, my companions would not be able to hold on until I return. That's settled. Let's go." The backlash from Kai Er's spiritual stove caused Long Haochen to be extremely irritated. He was less gentle than usual, but more domineering. But with his strength and ability, saying such words would only give people a feeling that it was only natural, even making the 4th Soldier Grade Demon Hunt Squad feel secretly grateful. With so many nightmare horses and great demon cavalrymen, 1/3 of the magic crystals was not a small amount. Everyone continued on their way, although most of them were very weak and injured. But as professionals, their physical strength was also far beyond that of ordinary people. Under the light of the dawn, the group of 13 did not attempt to leave the mountain range. Instead, under Long Haochen's lead, they continued to go deeper into the mountain range. After continuously climbing over 2 mountain peaks, they stopped at a place where there were a few shrubs. This was a valley with a natural crack in the stone wall. It was just right for them to rest. When they settled down, it was already bright outside. Lu Shi became the busiest person. While constantly recovering her spiritual power, she also treated everyone. What made Long Haochen slightly relaxed was that Kai gradually regained her ability to move. At this time, he sat not far from the entrance of the crack in the stone wall, letting Kai lean on him. Kai seemed very quiet. Her eyes could not see, her mouth could not speak, her ears could not hear, and her nose could not smell. But she did not seem to care at all. She just quietly nestled in Long Haochen's arms. Everyone else was resting. Han Daosi was in charge of keeping watch. Long Haochen held Kai-er's hand. Using his finger, he slowly wrote on her palm. He wrote down the entire process of his experience in the fearful howling cave. Kai could not hear, but she could feel it. She seemed to enjoy this feeling. She let Long Haochen scratch on her palm. Nestling in his arms, she was like the obedient Madul piglet in Chen Ying-er's arms. Lin Xian, come here. I have something to tell you. Lin Xian suddenly waved at Lin Xian, indicating him to follow her. Lin Xian froze for a moment. He frowned, but still followed Lin Xian into the depths of the crack. Long Haochen only glanced at them in confusion. He did not say anything. In his heart, Lin Xian was definitely one of the most trustworthy people. He understood this elder sister's personality very well. Furthermore, he did not know what had happened in the cave. He continued to write on Kai-er's palm. Everyone else was cultivating and did not pay any attention to them. The crack was very deep. It continued to extend for nearly 200 meters. Looking up into the sky, one could see the miraculous scene of a single line in the sky. Lin Xian continued to walk in. Only when everyone else was blocked by the stone wall did she stop. Lin Xian stopped not far behind her with an indifferent expression, simply using his fingers to comb his long dark green hair, braiding it into a braid. Leaning against the stone wall, he said, "Why did you call me here? To silence me?" Lin Xian said in annoyance, "You're a man. Why do you keep your hair so long? And you even combed it into a braid. From the side, you look even more like a woman than me." Lin Xian curled his lips and said, "This is called being handsome, okay? If you don't understand, don't talk nonsense." Lin Xian said in disdain, "Handsome my ass. We'll talk again when you're better looking than Houchen." The muscles on Lin Xian's face twitched. "Did you call me here just to attack me? Leader is better looking than me, but he seems to be more like a girl than me." Lin Xian suddenly fell silent. Looking at Lin Xian, she did not speak for a long time. Lin Xian felt the strange atmosphere. He could not help but look at her in confusion. "I'm sorry." Lin Xian lowered her head. "I was wrong before. I shouldn't have scolded you before figuring out the truth. I shouldn't have reminded you of your painful past." Lin Xian's body slightly trembled, and a trace of pain that couldn't be erased appeared in the depths of his eyes. He also slightly lowered his head, flinging his combed braid behind his back. "It's fine. There will always be people who will question me. Saying it out will make me feel better," Lin Xian said bitterly. Lin Xian slowly walked to his side. "You should be punished for your mistakes. Why don't you scold me too? Or hit me? I'll accept it." Her expression was very serious. Standing in front of Lin Xian, her charming face brimming with heroic spirit had the appearance of someone who was ready to die for justice. The corner of Lin Xian's mouth twitched. "Big sister, stop fooling around. Can I beat you?" "I won't fight back," Lin Xian hurriedly emphasized. "That's it? I'm going back," Lin Xian said impatiently. As he spoke, he turned around and walked back in the direction he came from. Lin Xian stomped her feet. "I hate the feeling of owing others. If you don't return it, how can I face your companions?" "Enough!" Lin Xian suddenly turned around and said angrily, "What's the use of scolding you and beating you up? You're right. I'm a coward. I don't have the guts to learn offensive magic. Even if I hit you and scold you, does that mean that the pain in my heart will lessen in the slightest? Woo." Lin Xian's words suddenly came to an abrupt halt, his originally large eyes instantly widening even further. If someone was here, they would be able to witness an extremely strange scene. A heroic knight, at this time, pressed the back of the magician's head with one hand, forced his body to hit the stone wall, and then kissed his lip. Lin Xian's brain seemed to short-circuit at this moment. Lin Xian's fiery lips were like magma, melting his anger and the sadness in his heart. At this moment, he felt his whole body go limp, and his vision went white. His whole body was pressed against the stone wall, as if he had become a mural. Lips parted. Lin Xian quickly took a few steps back, and her armor hit the stone wall on the other side of the crack, making a loud bang. Her pretty face had already turned a fiery red, just like her rose unicorn. Although she was not panting heavily, her full chest was constantly moving up and down. It was clear that her emotions were not calm at this moment. "Is this enough?" Lin Xian said fiercely, but no matter how you looked at it, it felt like she was putting on a brave front. "You don't want to beat me up, and I don't have as much money as you, so I don't have anything valuable to give you. Is this enough? I don't owe you any more." After saying this, she staggered back, but she hadn't taken more than a few steps when she seemed to have thought of something. Turning around to look at Lin Xian's still picturesque appearance, she couldn't help but angrily say, "Dead person, don't look like you've suffered a loss. This is this old lady's first kiss." As she said this, she threw a pebble at Lin Xian, smashing it on his leg. Then, she turned around and ran as fast as she could. Lin Xian turned his head stiffly, and looked at Lin Xian's disappearing figure. His pale face suddenly turned bright red. "I was kissed by force?" He touched his lips, and that burning feeling seemed to still be there. After an unknown period of time, He held onto the stone wall and walked out. His feet still felt weak. He bumped into Chen Inger. Chen Inger looked at him with a puzzled expression. Brother Yuyao, what's wrong? You're not having a fever, are you? Why is your face so red? I'm fine. Lin Xian touched his burning face, and found a place to sit down with a dazed expression. He looked around, but Lin Xian was nowhere to be seen. After 3 whole days, the 2 Monster Hunters teams had basically recovered their combat strength. Of course, this did not include King Yi and Yan Yan. Of these 2, one was exhausted and needed to recuperate continuously, while the other was seriously injured. But at least he could move, just that he couldn't face the enemy. These 2 days, Lin Xian and Lin Xian maintained a certain distance between each other, but they couldn't help but steal glances at each other. The others weren't blind, they could naturally feel the strange atmosphere between them. But now that they were in danger, everyone was trying their best to recover their strength. No one had the mind to pay attention to this. They just thought that after Lin Xian scolded Lin Xian, their relationship was a little awkward. But if one observed closely, they would notice that Lin Xian would blush for no reason. Everyone, come over here. Long Haochen stood beside Kair and raised his voice to call out. Everyone immediately looked at him, and quickly gathered around him. It's been 3 days, except for Kair, King Yi, and Yan Yan, everyone else has more or less recovered. I believe everyone is curious about what I saw in the Wailing Howl of Fear cave, and what's in that cave. I'll show it to you now. He felt slightly guilty, but Long Haochen would never really reveal the secret of the Tower of Eternity. If he did that, it might not be a good thing for his companions in front of him. It might even bring them a lot of trouble. After listening to Long Haochen's words, everyone looked at him curiously. At the same time, there was a bit of admiration. As the leader of the 21st General Rank Monster Hunters, and the only person who had entered the cave to explore, it could be said that if Long Haochen wanted to hide everything he found, the 4th Soldier Rank Monster Hunters members wouldn't be able to say anything. Without Long Haochen, they would have lost their lives long ago. But Long Haochen was open and honest about everything he found, which meant that he didn't have the intention to swallow the mission merit. The scouting gem projected an image under the infusion of Long Haochen's spiritual power, and the dark world of the Wailing Howl of Fear cave appeared in everyone's eyes. It had to be said that the scouting gem was indeed a rare treasure. This thing not only recorded images but also recorded sounds. They watched as Long Haochen appeared in the image, and began to explore the situation in the Wailing Howl of Fear cave. Because the entire image was very long, Long Haochen sped up the whole process under the control of his spiritual power. When Long Haochen began to suffer the attack of the howling in the cave, everyone couldn't help but gasp when they saw the intense spiritual power fluctuations around his body in the image. Although they hadn't really experienced it, they could imagine how much pressure Long Haochen was under. Long Haochen, who was under the influence, released the Holy Light Shield. At this time, he suddenly paused the image. Under everyone's shocked gaze, he said in a low voice, "It can be said that the results of this exploration aren't ideal. I'm also not sure if this image will be able to give us an evaluation for completing the mission. But in the Wailing Howl of Fear cave, I learned a skill while listening to the howling. Since we came here together and worked hard to complete this mission, I'm willing to share this skill for everyone to learn. At least you didn't come here for nothing. As for whether you can learn it or not, it depends on your luck." One could imagine the shock brought by Long Haochen's words, especially the 6th Soldier Level 4 Monster Hunters. The way they looked at him had completely changed. Lo Shi said almost without hesitation, "Leader Long, you don't have to do this. Self-created skills don't need to be shared with anyone. This is an ability that belongs to you." If it was under other circumstances, perhaps Long Haochen wouldn't be willing to share the ability that he had painstakingly learned. However, because of the secret of the Tower of Eternity, he felt a little guilty towards the Soldier Level 4 Monster Hunters. The kindness in his heart made him do something similar to compensation. Long Houchen smiled and said, "This ability that I've learned is not something that anyone can learn. Relatively speaking, it's more suitable for warriors in close combat. Leader Lu, you don't have to decline. Since I said it, I will definitely do it. Everyone, listen carefully. I will tell you the whole process of my understanding. Whether you can learn it or not is up to you. I will name this skill Ripple of Light." As he said that, a close-fitting holy light shield was released from Long Houchen's body. He signaled to Lin Xian, "Sister, attack my holy light shield. Slowly, so that everyone can see it clearly." Lin Xian looked at Long Houchen with some emotion. Her brother's biggest weakness was that he was too dazzling. This was a self-created skill. However, she still did as Long Houchen said. In her eyes, Long Houchen's leadership temperament was becoming stronger and stronger. Since he wanted to do this, he naturally had his reasons. The fiery red heavy sword pressed against the holy light shield. Lin Xian activated her spiritual power and slowly cut into the holy light shield. Just as her heavy sword came into contact with the holy light shield, there was suddenly a buzzing sound. Then, to Lin Xian's shock, the heavy sword in her hand actually slid away. It was not able to cut into Long Houchen's holy light shield at all. Everyone watched carefully. They clearly saw that the moment Lin Xian's spiritual power entered the holy light shield, the entire holy light shield showed a violent vibration. Lin Xian's sword also slid away during this vibration. This completely surpassed the defensive ability of the holy light shield. Long Houchen said, "This skill, Ripple of Light, is something I learned from the shrill howl in the Cave of Fear and Sorrow. Why does the shrill howl give us such a strong impact? Because of the high-frequency vibration of the sound wave. But what if we can use our own spiritual power to simulate this high-frequency vibration? Then, Ripple of Light will appear. It can be used for both offensive and defensive skills at the same time. Under the condition of using a certain amount of spiritual power, it can also greatly increase our own offensive and defensive abilities." Afterwards, Long Houchen completely explained his understanding of Ripple of Light. He also used it many times, showing the power of Ripple of Light in front of everyone. Just as Long Houchen said, Ripple of Light was not suitable for magic professions. Only melee professions could use it. Everyone also clearly felt the powerful effects of this skill. Han Daosi felt the terrifying attack power of Ripple of Light, while Dian Yen, a shield warrior, felt the benefits of a large increase in defense. The detection gem continued to play the entire video. Long Houchen also explained his own feelings. The Tower of Eternity appeared at the end of the video, right up to the moment when the vengeful spirit pounced on Long Houchen. At that time, I only felt a stabbing pain in my brain, as if the vengeful spirit wanted to invade my body. At this time, Long Haoyue arrived and used Soul Shock to chase away the two vengeful spirit. After that, I fell into a coma for a period of time. When I woke up, the tower had already disappeared. From the beginning to the end, I didn't understand what it was. The detection gem's recording ability seemed to have been affected. It didn't record what happened after I fell into a coma. But one thing I can be sure of is that even if the tower still exists, it's not something I can face with my level of cultivation. Long Houchen had already thought of this story. Although he felt a little guilty saying it now, he still hardened his heart when he thought of the impact necromancers had on the human world. He told them his half-truth, half-lie story. After listening to his story, surprisingly, no one questioned him. The video showed the power of Howl. They knew that it was impossible for them to reach the bottom of the cave, let alone do better than Long Houchen. The mission could only be like this. Han Daosi said with some embarrassment, "Leader Long, since it's like this, we should at least complete half of the mission by returning this video. That skill of yours, can it?" Chapter 86. Han Daosi had clearly spoken the thoughts of all the melee fighters. Looking at their fiery gazes, Long Houchen smiled and nodded. Alright, then I'll give everyone some pointers. After resting for a while, we'll think of a way to return to the Alliance. For a moment, everyone focused their attention on learning the Ripple of Light skill. As for their gratitude towards Long Houchen, they quietly buried it in their hearts. In the history of the Temple League, learning a secret skill as a group, or a secret skill comprehended by an individual, had never happened before. At times like this, individual comprehension was completely displayed. A day later, Han Yu was the first to comprehend the mysteries of Ripple of Light, followed by Sima Xian. Although Sima Xian was a cleric, he was a violent cleric. He had comprehended the mysteries of Ripple of Light almost at the same time as Han Yu. Comparatively speaking, as a cleric, comprehending a knight's self-created skill was much more difficult than Han Yu, but he was only a moment slower than Han Yu. Long Houchen couldn't help but laugh at this scene. When a person loses something, they can often gain something else. Sima Xian, who couldn't learn healing magic, had a unique talent for learning offensive skills. On the other hand, the three melee fighters on the side of the fourth soldier monster hunters still hadn't found the slightest clue. Lin Xian was the same. Long Houchen didn't say it out loud, but in his heart, he understood that a person's comprehension was closely related to their innate internal spiritual energy and attribute. The reason why Sima Xian and Han Yu were able to comprehend so quickly was mainly because their innate internal spiritual energy had reached 80 after being suppressed by him. Moreover, both of them were of the light attribute. All of his comprehension was based on the conditions of the light attribute, so it was naturally much easier for them to learn compared to others. 3 days passed in a row. Dian Yen and Han Daosi had successively given up on comprehending rippling light. Although Lin Xian and Wang Yuan still hadn't managed to learn it, the two women seemed to be competing with each other, unrelenting in their practice every day. Their goal was to increase their attack power. They had all witnessed the immense effects of Ripple of Light. Moreover, Long Houchen was so devoted to them. They had already made up their minds that they would not give up no matter what. Of course, perseverance could not completely make up for the gap in comprehension. It was hard to say whether they would be able to learn this skill in the end. But at least there was hope of success if he tried. Luxi had been watching coldly from the sidelines. After so many things had happened, he secretly sighed in his heart. It seemed that his team of monster hunters would not be able to catch up with Long Houchen and the others no matter what. Unless he had a fortuitous encounter in the future, he might have a chance. It had already been 7 days since they had come here to rest. Han Daosi had secretly gone to the front to investigate. The terror-howling cavern had already been completely controlled by the army of demons. He didn't dare to get too close, but the information he sent back told everyone that at least 3 demon lords had appeared in the terror-howling cavern. Moreover, it was very likely that there were existences even stronger than the demon lords there. Obviously, the loss of over 100 great demon knight had caused the demons to be really angry. Moreover, they were also determined to obtain the terror-howling cavern. Luxi went to find Long Houchen alone. Leader Long, there is currently an army of demons outside, but it shouldn't affect us. Dian Yen and Yi Jun have more or less recovered. Apart from the damage to our equipment, our 2 teams are basically in peak condition. Shouldn't we think of a way to return? Long Houchen nodded. That's right. It's not good to stay here for long. However, Big Sister and Yuan are still comprehending Ripple of Light. If we interrupt them now, I'm afraid they won't have the chance to comprehend it in the future. If we want to return to the Alliance safely as soon as possible, the best way is to go through the route of the Moon Devils. Luxi was surprised. You mean, we should go find the president of Yi Chamber of Commerce? Long Houchen nodded. That's right. She has been restricted by Kair. We don't have to worry about her playing any tricks. If we have her cover, we should be able to save a lot of effort when we return to the Alliance. Luxi said, but there is still a certain degree of danger. If that Yi recklessly exposed us, wouldn't it be? Long Houchen said, I have also thought of this. Although the possibility is extremely small, we have to guard against it. I plan to go to the Moon Devil's place alone. Yu Yi had left me an address. It is at the Moon Devil Palace next to the Central Province's Demon God Palace. I will go find her myself. If everything is normal, I will come back to pick everyone up. It will be safer this way. And with the blood contract between Hao Yue and me, even if I encounter danger, I will have no problem escaping. She looked deeply at Long Houchen and smiled bitterly. Compared to you, the leader, I am simply a waste. Long Houchen patted him on the shoulder and said, Leader Lu, don't say that. If it weren't for you, we wouldn't have come this far. We are members of a team. This time, it is everyone's credit that we can gain something from the demons. We are a united group, and everyone needs your treatment. That's settled. Tonight, I will leave under the cover of the night. I will leave this side to you. Kai Er has lost her 4 senses, and she can't teleport with Hao Yue, so I must leave her behind. If there is any danger here, Hao Yue will inform me immediately and teleport me back. She nodded and said, Don't worry, I will take good concealment measures. The simple exchange between the two leaders had already determined the direction of the team. Long Houchen returned to Kai Er's side, gently took her hand, and wrote his decision in her palm. Kai Er snuggled up to him and gently moved her slender fingers in his palm. Come back early. She didn't pester him, nor did she insist on going with him. This was Kai Er, the Kai Er who always thought for Long Houchen. Gently hugging her and feeling the softness of her delicate body, Long Houchen's tense expression finally relaxed a little. He had decided that after returning this time, before Kai Er recovered her lost 4 senses, he would not lead the team to carry out any more missions. He would stay in the sacred city to accompany her through these difficult days. Lin Xian, come here. Long Houchen called out to Lin Xian, who was working hard to refine medicinal pills not far away. Lin Xian's tools for refining medicinal pills were carried with him. In order to let him refine with peace of mind, Long Houchen specially opened up a flat space for him. Hearing Long Houchen's call, Lin Xian hurriedly ran over. Leader, the results these days are not bad. Although we went through a lot of difficulties and obstacles this time, we obtained more good materials than before. It's just that the conditions here are relatively simple, and I am not in the mood to study new drugs. But at least I can refine some of the medicinal pills from before. My main focus is on refining the Great Recovery Pill. I should be able to refine the first batch today. I estimate that 7 or 8 pills should not be a problem. Just as Long Houchen said, in the process of carrying out this mission, everyone showed an indispensable role. Lin Xian's pills always played an important role at crucial moments, and this was something that everyone could see. Of course, the spiritual explosion pill and the bloodthirst pill had certain side effects. For this team, the Great Recovery Pill was more important. After all, the first 2 types of medicinal pills still had some remaining. They could get more Great Recovery Pills and distribute them to the Soldier Level 4 monster hunters. Of course, they had to exchange for them with merit points. 1 pill was worth 100 merit points. This was the price set by Lin Xian. Anyway, according to him, this was an extremely low price. Lin Xian definitely had the nature of a profiteer. In the end, he did not collect the merit points of the Soldier Level 4 monster hunters. On the condition that each of them was provided with 3 Great Recovery Pills, he deprived the Soldier Level 4 monster hunters of the right to obtain all the carcasses of the demonic beasts. This also included the demonic beasts' carcasses that had been collected. Apart from the demonic crystals, the demonic beasts' carcasses that Lu Shi and the rest had obtained from their storage devices were all exchanged by Lin Xian in this way. He would definitely make a profit, but only Lin Xian himself knew how much he would make. Long Houchen nodded and said, I didn't call you here to ask you about the situation of refining medicinal pills. We don't know much about this. You can do as you see fit. Lin Xian was stunned and asked doubtfully, Captain, is there anything else? Long Houchen glanced at the others not far away and said in a low voice, I want to ask you, what's going on between you and my sister? You guys have been acting weird these few days. Lin Xian was startled, almost jumping up. His face immediately became as red as a cooked prawn. Really? Long Houchen was shocked. No. Lin Xian hurriedly explained, what can happen between me and Sister Lin Xian? There's nothing going on, really. Long Houchen said unhappily, your performance is really not that good? If there's a mirror, look at yourself. Your face is even redder than a little girl's. You don't want to tell me, right? Fine, I won't force you. You can go. I'll ask my sister later. If I find out that you bullied her. Lin Xian smiled bitterly and said, Captain, great Captain, please let me go. It's too embarrassing. I really don't want to talk about it. Long Houchen's face darkened and said, Lin Xian, my sister scolded you. She's in the wrong. However, our two teams are currently carrying out a mission together. We need to help each other and trust each other. I don't want you to hold any grudges. Otherwise, if we encounter any danger again, it's very likely that we'll be wiped out. Do you understand? Lin Xian couldn't help but say, Boss, it's not that serious. Why would I hold a grudge against Sister Lin Xian? Long Houchen looked straight at him and waited for him to continue. Lin Xian stole a glance at the others. In the end, he still stomped his foot and said, Fine, then I'll tell you. I was taken advantage of by your sister. She forced a kiss on me. Long Houchen didn't expect this to be the result. His exclamation was a little too loud. The others couldn't help but look over. Boss, lower your voice. Otherwise, I won't be able to face others. Lin Xian said awkwardly. His face turned even redder. Long Houchen's face turned ugly. Lin Xian, we don't care about your narcissism. However, you can't be that narcissistic, can you? How could my sister force a kiss on you? She's a girl. You're slandering her innocence. Lin Xian didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Boss, do you think I'm lying to you? If it weren't for you, would I be able to join our monster hunters? Listen to me clearly. He really couldn't hide it anymore. He moved closer to Long Houchen's ear and told him about the misunderstanding between him and Lin Xian. Later, when Lin Xian found him, everything that happened between the two of them. After listening to his story, Long Houchen's eyes were a little dull. Looking at Lin Xian, who was diligently practicing not far away, he couldn't help but be speechless for a moment. What the hell is this? Sister, you're too tough. Lin Xian was afraid that Long Houchen wouldn't believe him. He imitated Lin Xian's action at that time. He hooked his head and said, Boss, look. At that time, Sister Xian did this. One of her hands hugged the back of my head. She's a knight. I'm just a magician. Even if I wanted to struggle, I couldn't. Then, looking at his face full of grief and indignation, Long Houchen said in a bad mood, You're the one who took advantage of her, okay? My sister is a girl. It's her first kiss. This is already an advantage for you. What else are you dissatisfied with? Lin Xian said in a low voice. Boss, there's nothing I'm dissatisfied with. But I actually didn't earn anything. It's also my first kiss. Long Houchen looked at him with a face full of disbelief. You think it's your first kiss? Do you still remember the first time we met? The girls in the auction hall all wanted to eat you up. If you say you're a playboy, I'd believe it. But how can you have your first kiss? I don't think you've had 10,000 kisses. Lin Xian cried out in injustice. Boss, I'm telling the truth. At most, I'm just a little narcissistic. But I'm still very clean. Grandpa is very strict. If I really have a scandal with a girl, he definitely won't let me go. Moreover, although I'm older than you, I'm not even 20 years old. I'm not that precocious. If I spent every day with a woman, would I still be able to become such an excellent potioneering master? Long Houchen looked at him with a strange expression. After a long while, he tentatively asked, "Then what do you plan to do? Just act as if this never happened?" Lin Xian snappily said, "This is my first kiss. It's my first time. How can you act as if it never happened? Moreover, it was forcibly taken away." I. Long Houchen rubbed his head and said, "Okay, you continue to refine medicine. I can't do anything about this. You can do as you see fit. I only have one request. You're not allowed to hurt my sister. Otherwise, I won't let you go." Lin Xian gently nodded. He suddenly lowered his voice and said, "Actually, I quite like older girls. Sister Xian is also very beautiful. Boss, you say, if I were to pursue Sister Xian, would I have a chance? Don't ask me. I don't know. However, if you try, there's a 50% chance. If you don't try, there's no chance at all. If you really want to, then you can try. Tonight, I'm going to the Moon Devils to find a way out for us. You can think about it first." Lin Xian said, "I've been thinking about it these days. I don't know why, but since being kissed by Sister Xian, I suddenly found that she's getting more and more beautiful. I want to take the initiative to pursue her, but I don't know how to say it. I really don't have any experience in this. Boss, can you teach me?" Long Haobao snappily said, "How can I teach you? If you don't have experience, then do you think I have experience?" Lin Xian without hesitation said, "Of course you have experience. How old is Kai? She can be coaxed by you. How can I not have experience?" Scram! Long Houchen kicked the smirking Lin Xian away. He hugged Kai and no longer paid attention to him. As the time they spent together increased, Lin Xinlong's understanding of Lin Xinlong and Houchen also increased. Whether it was appearance, character, ability, or family, he could be considered a good match for Lin Xian. If he was sincere, it wouldn't be a bad thing. Everything would depend on fate. He didn't intend to get involved. He believed that his sister would grasp it well. As the sun set in the west, the night gradually seized control of the earth. Long Houchen also quietly left the valley and headed into the distance. The Howling Fear Cave itself was within the range of the central province of the demons. He had already marked the direction on the map. He went around the side of the mountain and then flew towards the core area of the central province. With the improvement of his cultivation, Long Houchen's overall ability had greatly increased. Although he wasn't riding Haoyue, he could run faster than a galloping horse in the wilderness. At this time, he had put on the magic eyes of the Moon Devils and the clothes that Yu Yi had given him. Under the cover of the night, he flew towards his destination. The night was beautiful. The night sky was clear, the stars were bright, and the crescent moon emitted a hazy moonlight. Under the starlight, it emitted a soft and beautiful color. Although Long Houchen had left, his heart was still with Kai. This time, he had given Haoyue a death order. No matter what, he was not allowed to leave Kai. If anything happened, he would be able to return to Kai's side as soon as possible. He would not allow anyone to hurt his Kai again. Galloping was not lonely for Long Houchen. In his heart, he recalled the entire process of this mission and summed up the gains and losses. There was no doubt that this mission was out of his control from the beginning. The wandering merchants that he originally wanted to rely on had encountered big trouble. What followed was a series of battles, but overall they were still lucky. At least, no one had died until now. Tough battles were the best way to hone one's will and ability. Long Houchen believed that as long as they could return alive this time, whether it was the 21st General level or the 4th Soldier level, these two monster hunters would have great progress. Moreover, the harvest this time was quite huge. After killing so many strong demons, he only needed to do a simple calculation to know that the 21st General level monster hunters had obtained a total of more than 10,000 merit points by killing the demons. As for the specific number, He couldn't estimate it yet. But 10,000 was already the most conservative estimate. The stronger the strength, the more they would have to pay. Long Houchen and Kai Er were typical examples. There was no need to talk about Kai Er. In a one-on-one situation, she had killed a rank 7 demon lord with her rank 5 strength. She had once again let Long Houchen see the terror of the spiritual stove of samsara. And Long Houchen had also fully demonstrated the formidable strength that a leader should have. Whether it was as a commander or as the core of the team, he had almost achieved perfection. And in this mission, the one who had the biggest harvest was also him. In the previous few days of rest, Long Houchen had used the spiritual force detection gem to check his internal spiritual force. Now, he was already a rank 9 Earth Knight with an internal spiritual force of more than 3,700. Moreover, the Saint spiritual stove of samsara had clearly shown signs of evolution. In addition to the light elemental fairy Yiting and the eternal melody necklace of unknown rank, Long Houchen was confident that as long as he was given a stable environment to train, he would be able to break through the bottleneck of the Radiance Knight rank in less than 2 months. It must be known that from the time he had broken through to rank 5 until now, it had not even been half a year. Even he himself felt that this kind of training speed was somewhat terrifying. And these were still not his biggest harvest. The biggest harvest was the Tower of Eternal Rest. Although he still did not know what the Tower of Eternity would ultimately bring him, this strange tower left behind by a necromancer of the Archmage rank was probably comparable to a divine relic. He must return alive. Long Houchen subconsciously clenched his fists. As long as he could survive, the next time he entered the demon's territory to carry out a mission, he would certainly have the ability to fly. From the mountain range where the dread Howling Cave was located to his current destination, it was approximately 400 miles. With his current speed, he should be able to arrive at his destination by the time the sky was bright. The central province of the demons was vast and located on a plain. The total area occupied nearly 1/10 of the demons' territory and was also the largest of the 24 provinces. The capital of the demons was located in the heart of the central province, but it was not called the Demon City. Instead, it was called the Heart City, from the meaning of the demon god's heart. The Heart City of the Demon City was originally the capital of a large human empire. Later on, it was occupied by the demons and transformed. After thousands of years, it evolved into its current state. The Heart City was extremely large, incomparable to any city in the Human Temple League. It was almost equivalent to the size of 20 exorcist passes. The Heart City was square in shape, and the Demon Palace was located in the center of the Heart City. It itself was a city within a city. Demon Emperor Fengxiu's first-ranked demon god pillar was also in the Demon Palace. In addition to the Demon Palace, there were 4 other huge palaces in the 4 corners of the Heart City. They were the residence of the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th-ranked demon gods. Their demon god pillars were also in their respective palaces. The fact that the 5 strongest demon god pillars were all here showed how important the Heart City was to the entire demons. By the time Long Houchen saw this terrifyingly huge city, the sky had already brightened. However, because of this huge city's pitch-black walls, he actually couldn't see the light of dawn. In the sky above this huge city, dark clouds hovered, and the environment was completely different from the outside. Not a single ray of sunlight could shine into this city. From a distance, Long Houchen could only vaguely make out some hazy black gas that seemed to be constantly surging into the sky from within the city. Just by looking at it, he could clearly feel a stifling feeling. The light attribute spiritual energy in his body seemed to be suppressed to a great extent. The density of the dark element in this place was at least 3 times that of the outside world. Slowing down, Long Houchen simply tidied up his clothes, took out the token that Yu Yi had given him previously, and held it in his hand. He rubbed his cheeks to make his expression more relaxed, and then strode towards the Heart City with his head held high. He needed to recover from the exhaustion brought about by a night of running. Moreover, he couldn't possibly summon the light elemental fairy, Yiting, who was like the sun in the territory of the demons, to help him. Now that he was slowing down, he was slowly recovering from his exhaustion. From the time he saw the Heart City to the time he entered the city gates, it took Long Houchen a full hour. The Heart City was really too big, so much so that each side of the city wall had as many as 10 city gates. This could be said to be unique in the history of the Holy Demon Continent. Long Houchen chose the East City Gate, which was guarded by the Moon Devils. The 4 city gates of the Heart City were guarded by the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th ranked demon gods. The East City was the territory of the Moon Devils. Looking at Long Houchen's current appearance, it was obvious that he was a noble of the Moon Devils. At most, he had some dust on his body. After he showed his Moon Devil's Viscount token, he was immediately respectfully sent into the city by the Moon Devil's soldiers guarding the city gate. However, Long Houchen's back was covered in cold sweat. This was because even the lowest-ranked soldiers of the Moon Devils seemed to have the strength of around the 4th grade. They were not inferior to the great demons of the demons. He couldn't help but think that if Princess Yu Yi did not have a certain human bloodline, perhaps when he met her, her strength would have been far more than the 5th grade. Walking into the Heart City with a seemingly calm expression, Long Houchen stood in a relatively remote corner and sized up the city that was the core of the demons. The roads in the Heart City of the Demon City were very wide. It was enough for the large horse carriages that Yu Yi used to travel side by side without crowding. On both sides of the streets there were many shops. Many of them were high-rise buildings. The simple style even had some architectural characteristics of the glorious era. 6,000 years had passed. While the demons had brought great disasters to the humans, they had also gradually integrated the various knowledge of the human world. At a glance, this city did not seem to be much different from a human city. In fact, it was even more prosperous than any human city. However, upon closer inspection, it was different. Most of the buildings here were black. Even if they were not black, they were cold-toned. Although humans occasionally appeared on the streets, there were more demons of various kinds. Of course, low-level demons like the dual-bladed demons of the Zhe Lin clan could not be seen here. There were more powerful existences. Obviously, being able to live in the Heart City was a symbol of honor for any demons. Was this the foundation of the demons? Long Houchen sighed inwardly. Among the demons that passed by on the streets, he had already seen at least 4 level 6 powerhouses. There was even a level 7 existence. As they walked on the streets of the Heart City of the Demon City, they looked like ordinary civilians. There was no scene of people crowding around them. After a short period of observation, Long Houchen did not stay any longer and headed straight for his destination. He had a map. After entering the East City Gate, it was impossible for him to get lost in this almost square city. The Heart City of the Demon City was really too big. Long Houchen chose to enter from the nearest place. By the time he reached the Moon Demon Palace, an hour had passed. Although he had some understanding of the Heart City, when he stood in front of the Moon Demon Palace, Long Houchen was still filled with shock. This was just another small city. The dark purple walls were more than 10 feet tall. The wide palace walls and the city walls formed a square of unknown size. The palace walls were dark purple. When he reached here, Long Houchen could clearly feel the dark elements in the air becoming stronger. The dark elements here were twice as strong as other places in the city. Even the Sanctuary Alliance's great trial field was not as big as this Moon Demon Palace. Besides the Demon Palace, there were 3 other places like this in the Heart City. Long Houchen suddenly felt a little powerless. What kind of power would it take to break through such a powerful demonic city? Would there really be a day when humans could completely defeat the demon race? This thought only flashed in his mind for a moment. His faith was firm and he quickly returned to normal. When he reached the Moon Demon Palace, Long Houchen took out his Moon Demon Viscount token and waved it before he strode in with his head held high. The title of Viscount of the Moon Devils was not only effective for the Moon Devils, but it was effective for all the demons. As a noble of the Moon Devils, he had a high status. Only the leader of the Moon Devils, Moon Demon Agars, had the right to order him around. When the guards saw the young Moon Demon Viscount, they quickly bowed. They did not doubt Long Houchen's identity at all. Other than the token, Long Houchen's appearance, which could even be described as stunning, was the best proof of entry. In the Moon Demon clan, the higher the status and the stronger the clansmen, the more handsome they were. As for Long Houchen's appearance, perhaps even the Moon Demon god Agars might not be a match for him. When the guards saw his purple eyes and appearance, they immediately retreated to the side without hesitation. They didn't even dare to look at the token he was waving. The Moon Demon Palace was huge. Long Houchen followed the map Yu Yi gave him and walked quickly. At the same time, he completely concealed his aura. He was very clear about the danger here. The Moon Demon was the second strongest existence among the 72 demons. In this Moon Demon Palace, there should be no less than 10 Type 9 powerhouses. If he was exposed here, his only choice would be to use the blood contract with Haoyue to teleport away. He could not even stay for a moment. Appearance was the best pass, and Long Houchen was secretly amazed along the way. All the Moon Devils that saw him, regardless of gender, age, or strength, would unknowingly reveal expressions of respect. Some even took the initiative to step aside to greet him, inviting him to go first. Although Yu Yi had mentioned the importance of appearance among the Moon Devils, Long Houchen did not expect it to be so useful. Regardless, it was a good thing, as it had saved him a lot of trouble. The Moon Demon Palace was separated into the Outer Palace and the Inner Palace. The Outer Palace was for the experts of the Moon Devils, while the Inner Palace was for the direct descendants of the Moon Demon. Compared to the spacious Outer Palace, the Inner Palace was more like a palace. When Long Dawn entered the Inner Palace, he was finally inspected. However, his Moonfiend Viscount's medallion proved to be useful. The medallion represented a direct line of descent, allowing him to easily pass through. The moment he stepped into the palace, Long Houchen suddenly found it hard to breathe. The darkness element here was just too thick, to the point of being viscous. With every breath he took, it was as though the darkness element would enter his body, clashing with the light element within him. It was not a good feeling, and Long Houchen knew that if he stayed here for too long, his cultivation would continue to weaken. It seemed like the Moon Demon's demon god pillars should be within the Moon Demon Palace. However, he did not know where it was. The majestic purple palace rose and fell, looking noble, elegant, and dignified. Just this inner palace alone was comparable to the Temple League's holy city's governing residence. After Long Houchen entered, he did not dare to look around. He quickly took a detour from the side, bypassing the palace in front of him. After making a few turns, he arrived at a rather secluded area in the Inner Palace, where the sleeping quarters were located. It was surrounded by lush vegetation, and compared to the other palaces, this palace was more elegant. "Stop! Don't you know this is the Princess Palace? How dare you barge in?" Two tall female Moon Devils blocked Long Houchen's path. With just one look, Long Houchen could not help but gasp. These two Moon Devils looked to be in their 20s, but they were both at the 6th grade. Was this their talent? Long Houchen smiled bitterly. Although he knew that this was their innate ability, and that these demons could not compare to humans in terms of cultivation, he could not help but feel jealous. "Please give the token to the princess." Long Houchen handed over his Moon Demon Viscount token, then took 2 steps back and stood proudly. Seeing the token, the faces of the 2 Moon Devils softened. "Please wait a moment, Lord Viscount." As she spoke, one of the figures flashed. Long Houchen only felt that there was an additional purple moonlight in his line of sight. In the next instant the girl's figure disappeared. Not long after, when the moonlight shone again, the girl appeared in her original position. "Lord Viscount, Her Royal Highness invites you." Long Houchen nodded slightly and strode in. The two moon devils guarding the door looked at each other, and one of them whispered, "Wow, so handsome. This is the first time I've seen such a handsome Lord Viscount. Is he the future husband of our palace mistress?" The other girl said enviously, "Maybe. Only such a handsome and powerful clansman is worthy of Her Royal Highness. Look at his appearance, it's almost perfect. I estimate that he is at least an 8th grade powerhouse. Also, it won't be long before he reaches the 9th grade. He's definitely not over 50 years old." The average age of the Moon Devils was 500 years old, and 50 years old was definitely young for them. However, the Moon Devils were similar to the heaven-defying Demon Dragon clan in that their ability to reproduce was too weak. After adjusting the spiritual energy in his body, Long Houchen confirmed that his connection with Haoyue was normal, then walked into the palace in front of him. Chapter 87. Yuye's chamber was a 2-story palace-like building. Compared to the majesty of the Moon Demon Palace's core palace, her chamber was not very eye-catching. However, to be able to own a palace within the Moon Demon Palace was sufficient proof of her status within the Moon Demon Palace. Yuyi stood silently in the living room. Today, she was wearing a light purple gown. Her long hair flowed down her back, not deliberately tied up. Her beautiful face was free of makeup, but her bare face made her look even purer. Her eyes were gentle as she watched Long Houchen walk in from outside. "Your Highness." When Long Houchen saw her, his heart couldn't help but tremble. This princess of demons was not as wretched as she had been the last time they met. Instead, she had a more refined temperament. Yuyi waved her hand and said, "All of you are dismissed." "Yes." The 4 serving maids quickly retreated, leaving only Long Houchen and Yuyi in the spacious living room. "I didn't think you would arrive so soon." Yuyi smiled and gestured for Long Houchen to enter. They walked to the main seat and sat down. Then, she gestured for Long Houchen to sit in the seat below. "My apologies for disturbing your highness." Long Houchen smiled faintly. He was already here, but he was very calm, not showing any signs of nervousness. Yuyi looked at his handsome face and said softly, "So, Commander Long's mission has been completed?" A cold light flashed in Long Houchen's eyes, adding a hint of sharpness. To him, this was a tiger's den. Yuyi naturally understood what he meant. She smiled and said, "Commander Long, there is no need to worry. Those who can stand by my side are all trusted aides. No one will speak carelessly." Long Houchen's expression returned to normal. He said calmly, "That's right. With President Yu Ye's ability, how could she let the people around her be disobedient?" Yu Ye's pretty face showed slight annoyance. "Are you mocking me? I wouldn't dare. Let's talk business. Our mission can't be considered complete, but there's no need to continue. We are planning to return to the Alliance. Do you have a plan?" Long Houchen didn't want to waste time with her, so he got straight to the point. Yuyi frowned and said, "That's not difficult. After I reported to my father about what happened last time, he was furious. Those guys in Narik Province are already out of luck. His Majesty the Demon Emperor had ordered a thorough investigation into this matter. It was said that the 3 demon gods stationed there had been ordered by His Majesty the Demon Emperor to return to Heart City for trial, and they had been stripped of their respective races. However, I cannot leave the Demon Moon Palace for the time being. I still have some matters to attend to. If you want to return, I can arrange for a caravan to fly under the banner of my Yuyi Merchant Association. After what happened last time, I reckon no one will dare to make a move against my caravan. Furthermore, you will be going to the Temple League empty-handed." Long Houchen nodded and said, "Thank you very much. When can we leave?" Yuyi said in a bad mood, "I'm not a god. You have to give me time to deal with this matter. At least 3 days, at most 10 days. I will arrange it." "Good," Long Houchen said. Then how will your highness inform me when the time comes? Yu Yi said, the best way is for you to stay and wait for me to arrange a precise time for you to leave. I have many places to stay here, and no one will dare to casually barge in. You want me to stay? Long Houchen said warily. Yu Yi laughed and said, Commander Long is so wise. Why would you ask such a stupid question? Are you afraid that I will do something bad to you? If I wanted to do that, I wouldn't let you see me at all. However, your confidence methods are too vicious. I have tried all kinds of methods, but I couldn't remove the restriction in my body. Instead, it made me feel so much pain that I want to die. Is this how you treat me as a collaborator? Long Houchen's expression returned to normal, and he said indifferently, Collaborator? You are the princess of the demons. At most, we are in a relationship of making use of each other. There is no collaboration. If I guessed correctly, your previous batch of resources was transported for the demon capital Heart City, right? Are you really maintaining a neutral position? Yu Yi nodded without hesitation and said, Of course. The most important objective of us wandering merchants is to maintain a neutral position. You only saw what I transported to the demons, but not what I brought to the humans. This time, you will follow my caravan back to the Temple League. I will let you see it. Long Houchen said, That would be for the best. Yu Yi looked at him with a burning gaze. Suddenly, she stood up and walked in front of Long Houchen. Then, when will you let your confidant remove the restriction in my body? I sincerely want to cooperate with you. However, having such a thing in my body is like a thorn in my back. It is too painful. As she spoke, her body softened, and she sat on Long Houchen's lap. Long Houchen had been on high alert ever since he arrived here. Naturally, his reaction was extremely fast. His figure flashed, and he left his seat. Yu Ye's flexible body gently rubbed against his thigh, and she sat on his previous seat. Am I that scary? Yu Yi said bitterly. Long Houchen's expression was a little cold. Your Highness, please conduct yourself with dignity. I believe that with your ability, it won't be difficult to find a place for me to stay in the heart of Demon City. After you have arranged for the caravan, you can just let someone know to inform me. Yu Yi furrowed her brows and said, You're really stubborn. Why can't I compare to your confidant? Long Houchen said indifferently, No matter how delicious the delicacies are, they can't arouse a full stomach's appetite. Yu Ye's expression suddenly changed. Is that really the case? But from what I know, be it humans or men, they are all insatiably greedy in this aspect. My father has over 100 concubines. Among them, there is no lack of you humans, and there are also beauties from the demons. It is said that the demon emperor has over 1,000 concubines. Don't they have enough to eat? After a slight pause, Yu Yi looked at him provocatively. Or are you lacking in that aspect? Unfortunately, her provocation was directed at the wrong person. Long Houchen was slightly stunned. Lacking in that aspect? What aspect is that? Looking at his pure gaze, Yu Yi suddenly felt a little embarrassed. She couldn't help but ask, How old are you this year? Although Long Houchen's figure was getting taller and his temperament was getting more and more mature, he was still young after all. His face always carried a bit of childishness. I'm not telling you. He stiffly rejected Yu Ye's question. Yu Yi snorted. Forget it if you don't want to tell me. Look at this thing. Do you recognize it? As she spoke, her hand flashed and a small metal rod about a foot long appeared. She handed it to Long Houchen. Long Houchen reached out to receive it. The spiritual energy in his body moved slightly. The small rod flashed for a moment. A light purple light shot out from the other end and condensed into 2 words in the air. Seeing these 2 words, Long Houchen and Yu Yi were stunned. 15. You lied to me. Long Houchen said angrily. Clearly, this small metal rod had the ability to detect a person's age. He had been tricked. Yu Yi looked at him in a daze. You're only 15. Heavens! This can't be real. Long Houchen snorted coldly. You're still 1 month away. You lied to me. This thing is confiscated. As he spoke, a golden light flashed on his chest. He openly stored the metal rod into the eternal melody on his chest. Hey! This is very expensive. And very rare. Yu Yi stretched out her hand to ask for it. Long Houchen ignored her and turned to walk out. I believe that with your status, it won't be difficult for you to find out where I am staying. I'll find an inn to stay in. Tell me as soon as possible. Otherwise, don't blame me for being impolite. Since I dared to come here, I'm not afraid of you playing tricks. He was unwilling to tangle with this woman any longer. All right. I'll arrange a place for you to stay. You go find a place to stay yourself. What if you get exposed? Yu Yi said bitterly. Little did he know that the shock in her heart was unparalleled. She had always been curious about Long Houchen. She could naturally see that Long Houchen was not even 20 years old. But she did not expect him to be so young at 15. Humans and demons were different. Most of the demons were born with powerful abilities. However, it was very difficult for them to cultivate later on. Only a few of the most powerful races had a stronger talent for cultivation. For the other races, even the demon god, who was the leader of the race, had a hard time growing up. Humans were different. They were born with almost no abilities. However, their potential for growth was almost limitless. Although they were also affected by their talent, the creativity and growth of humans were far beyond that of the demons. Otherwise, how could humans persist for so many years under the attack of the powerful demons? A 15-year-old rank 5, at least until today, Yu Yi had never heard of such a thing. Moreover, Long Houchen was already the leader of a team of monster hunters. Yu Yi was very smart. With Long Houchen's age and ability, his talent must be at the top of the human race. Given enough time to grow, he would definitely become a great enemy of the demons in the future. However, there was one thing that she did not lie to Long Houchen. That was her own inclination. She had no deep feelings for humans or demons. In her heart, interests and strength were the most important. Therefore, although she discovered Long Houchen's terrifying potential, she did not think too much about it. She just secretly decided to at least befriend this young man. At this moment, a maid suddenly rushed in from outside. Your Highness, His Majesty the Demon Emperor is here. His Highness the Prince has ordered all the people in the inner palace to come out and welcome him. What? Yu Yi was taken aback, and his expression changed drastically. Long Houchen's heart tightened and he subconsciously clenched his fist. You can leave first. I'll change my clothes. After a brief shock, Yu Yi waved her hand and dismissed the maid. What should I do? Long Houchen calmly asked Yu Yi. After the shock, he was not very nervous because he could feel that the blood contract was not affected and he could leave at any time. Instead, he wanted to see how this Princess Yu Yi would deal with such a situation. From this matter, it could be seen that she was sincere in cooperating with him. Yu Yi spoke very quickly. The Demon Emperor came to see my father in person. There must be something important to discuss. He attaches great importance to his own safety, so every time he comes, he will order all the people in the inner palace to come out and welcome him. The Black Dragon Guards have a secret technique that can detect all signs of life in a certain area. If there is anyone hiding, it is very likely to be an assassin. Before His Majesty the Demon Emperor leaves, everyone will be confined to a certain area. Long Houchen said indifferently, in other words, I have to appear in front of the Demon Emperor. Yu Yi laughed bitterly. I'm afraid so. I didn't expect His Majesty to come at such a bad time. Now you can't even go out even if you want to. The Moon Demon Palace must be under martial law. What should I do? I only have maids here, no men. If you go out with me like this, you will definitely be suspected. What should I do? What should I do? Even with her intelligence, she was a little flustered. It was no wonder she was like this. Once the demon emperor knew that she had a relationship with the human monster hunters, even her father the moon demon would not be able to protect her. What the demon emperor hated the most were the monster hunters of the Temple League. Suddenly, when she looked up at Long Houchen, Yu Ye's eyes lit up. "There's a way. But, Captain Long, you must suffer a little." Long Houchen asked doubtfully, "What should I do?" Yu Ye moved closer to him and said something in a low voice. Long Houchen's face instantly turned ugly. He said resolutely, "No, absolutely not." Yu Ye's eyes immediately turned red. She was on the verge of tears. "If I don't do this, once I am discovered, I will be dead. Although I am a few years older than you, I am not even 20 yet. Do you have the heart to see me die with you? I haven't even had a man. I beg you, just suffer for a while. Once the demon emperor is gone, everything will be fine." You. Seeing her like this, Long Houchen's mind raced. This princess Yu Yi seemed to have some sincerity. Although her idea was bad, it was still very feasible. Moreover, if he were to teleport away, it would take at least a day or two to rush back. Who knew what would happen then? "Hurry! We can't delay. My life is in your hands. Don't you trust me?" Yu Yi was a little anxious now. Her beautiful eyes were red and tears were about to fall. Long Houchen frowned deeply, but in the end he nodded firmly. The gates of the Moon Demon Palace opened wide. Moon Demon Agars led a group of Moon Demon nobles out to welcome them respectfully. At the same time, all the people in the Moon Demon Palace, including the maids and servants, quickly gathered in the square in front of the palace. Moon Demon Agars was about 2 meters tall. He wore a purple robe with golden edges. His long hair was loose behind him and tied with a hairband. His features were picturesque, and he was as handsome as a woman. His purple eyes faintly glowed with a dark golden light. In the middle of his forehead, there was a faint demonic pattern that looked like a crescent moon. In terms of appearance, Agars was the most handsome man among the demons. He was even better than Demon Emperor Feng Xiu, but his temperament was not as good. As he stood there, he naturally became the center of the square. Everyone around him was overshadowed by him. Among the demons, Demon Emperor called himself the Emperor. Under him there were only 2 princes. One of them was Moon Demon Agars, and the other was the prophet of the demons. He was a great prophet among the demons, Star Demon Vasak. Beside Agars was a quiet woman. Her slender figure could be said to be perfect. Her beautiful face was untainted by makeup. She was refreshing, pure, and even had a bit of spiritual beauty. The most shocking thing was that she had a pair of black eyes that belonged to humans. Without a doubt, she was the most beautiful woman present. Only she could match the handsomeness of Moon Demon Agars. Behind Agars stood dozens of people. The closest to him were 4 middle-aged men. All of them were handsome men. These 4 were known as the 4 heavenly kings of the Moon Demons. They were the most trusted right-hand men of Moon Demon Agars. Behind them, there were more than 10 middle-aged men of Moon Demons. Each of them exuded a deep and profound aura. Behind them, there was a group of women, all of whom were stunning. One of these women was the Princess Yu Yi. She stood in a position closer to the front with a group of maids. Among them, the maid closest to her had her head lowered the entire time. Her long black hair was slightly loose, making it impossible to see her appearance clearly. Yu Ye's expression was somewhat strange. She forced herself not to look to her side, but her hands were gently playing with the lapels of her clothes, showing that she was not in a calm mood. Yes, she couldn't calm down. At this time, her heart was filled with a terrible feeling of self-confidence collapsing. For a woman, especially a stunning beauty, what was the greatest self-confidence? It was definitely not spiritual power or strength, especially in the Moon Demons, a race that respected beauty. Appearance was always the most important thing. Didn't they see that the princess next to the Moon Demon was actually a beautiful human? She had conquered all the Moon Demon clansmen with her looks. She was also Yu Ye's mother. Although her descendants could not inherit the position of the moon demon Agars, as long as she was the princess, no one could deprive her of that respect. However, just a few minutes ago, Yu Ye's self-confidence in her appearance collapsed. As the princess of the moon demons, Yu Ye's maids were naturally women. If she brought a man out, it would be strange not to arouse suspicion. Therefore, she had a flash of inspiration. She thought of a way to help Long Haochen put on makeup and let him pretend to be her maid. Long Haochen was still a teenager. His body was not fully developed, and he was not considered strong. Coupled with his absolute advantage in appearance, it didn't take too much trouble to disguise as a woman. This was also the reason why Long Haochen was unwilling to agree before. Although he compromised in the end, he was still a little unwilling. Yu Ye's makeup for Long Haochen was very simple. She changed into a maid costume, covered his Adam's apple, and then made his eyebrows and facial contours slightly softer. The whole process was completed in just a few minutes. However, when all this was done, the first person to be stunned was the initiator, Yu Ye. Too beautiful, really too beautiful. In Yu Ye's heart, she had always thought that the most beautiful woman in the world was her mother, the moon demon's princess. Due to her age, she lacked her mother's noble and elegant temperament and the charm of a mature woman. She was only slightly inferior. However, when she finished putting on makeup for Long Haochen, the moment Long Haochen raised his head, her self-confidence collapsed. She couldn't even use the word beautiful to describe Long Haochen. Tender and fair skin, tall but not exaggerated nose bridge, soft and clear eyes without any impurities. Every part of him was so exquisite and flawless, and when all of these were gathered together, it produced a geometric sublimation. Perfect. Yes, his appearance could only be described as perfect. Even though he was only wearing a maid costume, even the most luxurious and gorgeous gems in the palace would be overshadowed by him. Yu Yi believed that if Long Haochen took off his demonic eyes and revealed his original pair of golden eyes, he would definitely become even more powerful. At that time, he would have an additional kind of beauty, like the descent of the sun, the beauty of the Son of Light. Long Haochen didn't feel that his appearance had changed much. It was just that he didn't fit in women's clothing. Fortunately, it only lasted for a while. He lowered his head and followed behind Yu Yi. Yu Yi gently fiddled with the lapels of her clothes. Her heart was really too restless. She had already begun to regret it. Just now, when she left the bedchamber, she had repeatedly warned Long Haochen not to raise his head. His beauty had even surpassed her mother's. If the other nobles of the Moon Devils saw him, it would probably cause a lot of trouble. Even her father wouldn't let him go. Thinking of this, Yu Yi couldn't help but feel strange. If she had known, she would have let him use the identity of a Moon Devil Viscount to mix with the men. Speaking of which, was he really not a woman in men's clothing? His Majesty has arrived. A loud voice announced, and the entire square in front of the Moon Devil Palace quietened down. Even though Long Haochen lowered his head, he could still feel the obvious increase in pressure in the air. How could he not be nervous? The two people here were the two most powerful demon gods of the demons. Even if it was just a little finger of theirs, they could easily crush someone of his cultivation. However, he didn't completely listen to Yu Ye's advice. He had secretly observed the people in front of the Moon Devils. Although it was just a glimpse, he still remembered a lot of things with his amazing memory. These were the enemies he would face in the future. Now that he had some understanding of them, he could at least remember their identities. It would be much easier to face them in the future. In particular, Long Haochen carefully remembered the appearance of the moon demon Agars. Footsteps could be heard. There weren't many people coming in, at least judging from the footsteps. Agars greets your majesty. The moon demon Agars bowed slightly, and everyone behind him knelt on one knee. This was what made the Moon Devils noble and respected. If it were any other race, they would have to prostrate themselves before the Demon Emperor. The Demon Emperor Fengxiu could be said to be lightly dressed. There were only 4 middle-aged men in black robes behind him. There weren't many followers. Of course, this was only the number of people entering the palace. Only the Demon Emperor himself knew how many people were outside. Today's Demon Emperor was far from being as domineering as he was in the Exorcist Mountain Fortress. He was only wearing a simple black robe, and there wasn't even the slightest bit of aura overflowing from his body. He looked like an ordinary handsome young man. He raised his hand slightly and supported the bowing moon demon Agar's. "Brother, do we still need so much etiquette between us?" Agar smiled. "There is a difference in status, but etiquette can't be ignored. Your Majesty, please." He thought in his heart. If I really didn't pay attention to etiquette, wouldn't you mind? Of course, he was just silently cursing. Don't look at how he was the second-ranked demon god. In front of the Demon Emperor, there wasn't much difference between him and the other demon gods. The supreme position of the Demon Emperor wasn't something he could shake, so he naturally didn't covet it. The Demon God Emperor nodded and followed Agar's towards the palace. At this moment, the Demon God Emperor's footsteps suddenly paused and he looked in a certain direction. Even with the Demon God Emperor's status and cultivation, he was actually slightly shaken, and his eyes revealed a look of disbelief. This look shocked the moon demon Agar's. He followed the direction of the Demon Emperor's gaze and saw his most beloved daughter, Yu Yi. "Your Majesty, Yu." Agar's was a little nervous. He didn't want the Demon Emperor to have any designs on his precious daughter. All along, although the Demon Emperor was powerful, he still took good care of his subordinates and wouldn't do anything to hurt their feelings. But on the other hand, if the Demon Emperor had any designs on his daughter, could Agar's stop him? The Demon Emperor shook his head gently and said, "It's nothing. Let's go." After saying this, he muttered something in a low voice. Agar's hearing was amazing, and he vaguely heard the Demon Emperor say, "It's really similar." Agar's was shocked, but he didn't know that someone was already nervous to the point of breaking down. When the Demon Emperor looked over, Yu Yi only felt that her blood was about to freeze. Her hands instantly grabbed the hem of her skirt, and her body was as stiff as a rock. She didn't dare to move at all, and in her heart she kept screaming, "It's over, it's over." She was the person involved, so she could naturally feel that the Demon Emperor's gaze wasn't on her, but on Long Houchen beside her. Just now, when the Demon Emperor walked in, Long Houchen couldn't help but look up again, and it was this simple action that attracted the Demon Emperor's attention. The Demon Emperor's startled glance happened to meet Long Houchen's gaze. Long Houchen felt almost exactly the same as Yu Yi. His mind went blank for a moment. The moment the Demon Emperor's gaze met his, he immediately felt a terrifying energy lock his body and cut off all contact with the outside world. In other words, at that moment, even if he wanted to teleport away through the Haoyue contract, he couldn't do it. Long Houchen regretted looking up. He also believed that with the Demon Emperor's cultivation, he would definitely be able to discover the attribute of the spiritual power in his body. Am I really going to die here? However, what happened next surprised him. The Demon Emperor actually left with the moon demon Agar's and entered the palace. He didn't take any action against him, and neither did his subordinate. Why did he let me go? Didn't he discover my light attribute? With his cultivation, it's impossible, right? Long Houchen's heart was full of doubts, but at the same time, he was also full of joy. He almost couldn't help but teleport away. But in the end, he restrained himself. If he left in front of so many people, how would Yu Yi explain it to her people? Under the lead of the Moon Demon God, the Demon God Emperor finally disappeared from everyone's line of sight. Only then did everyone from the Moon Demon clan stand up one by one. In the process of getting up, an ice-cold little hand reached Long Houchen's waist, pinching a bit of his flesh and forcefully twisting it 180 degrees. Long Houchen felt pain and his body twitched, but surprisingly, he didn't resist. His heart was filled with guilt. If it wasn't for the fact that the Demon Emperor didn't make a move for some reason, he and Yu Yi would be finished. I'm sorry, Long Houchen said in a low voice. Yu Yi ignored him, her complexion still as unsightly as before. Her clothes were already soaked in sweat, and when the demon god emperor left with her father, she felt as if she was about to collapse, almost collapsing to the ground. She had a much better understanding of the demon god emperor's methods than Long Houchen. Therefore, she also had extreme fear in her heart. After this fear left her body, she felt two entirely different sensations: exhaustion and orgasm. This torture made her face look abnormally pale. Fortunately, no one would pay attention to her now. Everyone's attention was still on the Demon Emperor. Moon Demon Palace Main Hall. The Moon Demon invited the Demon Emperor to sit in the main seat, and he sat beside him respectfully. Your Majesty, why have you come in person? Tell someone to inform me, and I'll go over, Agar said with a smile. Feng Xiu waved his hand, and the 4 subordinates he brought with him and the subordinates of the Moon Demon Agars all left, leaving only the 2 demon gods in the main hall. From this simple detail, it could be seen how terrifying Feng Xiu's position among the demons was. Even the clansmen of the Moon Demon didn't dare to disobey his orders in the slightest. There are no outsiders now, so you and I don't need to be so polite. I came to find you for 2 reasons. One is for business, and the other is to see you. We brothers haven't been together in a long time, and we're usually busy with all kinds of things. Come back with me later, and tonight, how about we drink to our heart's content? I can't bear to drink the human wine that niece Yu Yi brought back last time. Agar smiled and said, Then I won't refuse. I haven't had a drink with Big Brother in a long time. You don't know, that girl Yu Yi didn't leave much for me. Most of it was sent to you. As her father, I'm jealous. Feng Xiu smiled. What's there to be jealous of? If you want a drink, just look for me. Only you and 3rd brother can call me Big Brother. Do we 3 brothers need to be separated? Agar sighed softly and said, 3rd brat, he's always studying his divination. I went to look for him twice, but I was turned away at the door. Hearing Agar's words, Feng Xiu's expression became a little more solemn. 3rd brother has indeed been in seclusion for a long time. He is our great prophet, so he must have encountered some trouble in the process of divination. This isn't a good thing. I hope he doesn't bring bad news. Agar said disapprovingly, What bad news can there be? Humans? Although they have become stronger over the years, they still don't dare to come out of their turtle shell. If Big Brother doesn't want to keep them in captivity, can the humans really resist us if we attack together? Feng Xiu shook his head. 2nd brother, we can't be careless. After all, humans have been living and multiplying on this continent for tens of thousands of years. They aren't that easy to kill. If we really go all out to deal with them, both sides might suffer. Although we have a higher chance of winning, what if such a chaotic situation attracts the attention of other planes? When that time comes, how are we going to deal with them when both sides suffer? Although I've never seen humans as too big of a threat, we can't act rashly. The time isn't right. After a moment of silence, Agars asked Feng Xiu, Big Brother, I've always wanted to ask you. What do you mean by the time you speak of? When can we launch an all-out attack on the humans? We can't let them continue to develop. The potential of humans really can't be underestimated. A leisurely look flashed in Feng Xiu's eyes. This time is up to us. I need our clansmen to accept the existence of humans more, even to the point of treating humans as part of our own race. When that time comes, it will be time for us to deal with the Temple League. I don't want destruction, but assimilation. Otherwise, we won't be able to develop in the future. We need the potential of humans. Agars was startled. Big Brother, are you saying that we have to completely accept humans? Feng Xiu nodded and said, Humans have many advantages, and they have a deep foundation. All these years, every decree I've issued is for us to assimilate with humans. We must first complete the assimilation process with the humans within our borders, and then we can slowly plan. One day we will make humans a part of us. When that time comes, we, the demons, will become even more powerful. My goal isn't limited to our world, but to be able to launch a war across planes like our ancestors did in my lifetime. Second brother, what if I let you pass the position of the demon god to Yu Yi? Let her inherit your ability, Feng Xiu suddenly said. Agars turned pale with fright. Big brother, how can we do that? The clansmen won't agree. Feng Xiu said calmly, as long as I support them, who would dare to cause trouble? Since we want to completely integrate with humans, then we must start from ourselves. Don't look at Yu Ye's slow progress. If she can inherit your ability, her future achievements will definitely be above yours. This is the advantage of human potential. Thinking back to the demon emperor's glance at Yu Yi, Agars couldn't help but be vigilant. Could it be that His Majesty wants to devour my moon devils? No way. With his strength, there was no need to do so. Moreover, the heaven-defying demon-dragon clan had always maintained the purity of their bloodline. Feng Xiu's eyes moved slightly. I'm just saying. Think about it, I respect your opinion. If you're not willing, then forget it. Moreover, you're still young. There's no rush.